It's October 15th, 2025. We call the Franklin County Commissioner meeting to order, please.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Present.
Commissioner Waymire?
Present.
Chair Harris?
Present.
Vice Chair Metter?
Present.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Present.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a proclamation the month of October of 25, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Thank you.
Hi.
Did you want to read the proclamation?
Yeah, I can
Okay, great.
reading it.
And then I'll say a few words if you'd like.
In the county, state of Franklin County, Kansas, in recognition of the critical work being done by domestic violence advocates and allies in service of survivors and victims they serve, we encourage all citizens to actively engage in the scheduled activities and events sponsored by the Willow Domestic Violence Center and other organizations working towards the eradication of domestic violence. Whereas in the United States, 10 to 12 million adults experience domestic violence annually, with an average of 20 people every minute experience these heinous acts. Whereas in the state of Kansas, one domestic violence incident occurs every 23 minutes and one domestic violence murder occurs every 11 days, with one domestic violence arrest made every 46 minutes. Whereas the impact of domestic violence is felt not only by individuals and families, but also by communities and a nation as a whole. Whereas Franklin County joins with others across the state of Kansas and nationwide in supporting domestic violence victims and survivors, the advocates and organizations who serve them, and holding offenders accountable in our community. Now, therefore, the Franklin County Board of Commissioners hereby do proclaim October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Thank you. And my name is Maggie Bornhold. I've met you before. I'm the Assistant Director of Rural Services. And this is my coworker, Jaden Simmons, who is now the new Franklin County Advocate. Frees me up to do a little more community partnership work. So I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for the proclamation. Thank you for your support. As you know, domestic violence is a national problem, and we're working very hard to not just support survivors, but also educate people in the community and do a lot of prevention work. We're doing a tabling at Ottawa University today with an activity, so that's going to be really fun. And that's the type of work we like to do, the prevention side. But we are here if anybody knows a survivor who needs support. I also want to thank the board for any support that you've all given for efforts to eradicate homelessness, because we know that domestic violence is a leading cause of homelessness. So I want to just thank the commission for your support of those efforts.
Thank you
So much.
Motion to approve the proclamation.
Second.
From I am. I
Oh,
am seconded. I am.
Okay. Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Metter?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Chair Harris?
Yes.
Now you can give it to her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Onward. We got any public comment?
No, sir.
So on the consent agenda, we consider the approval of Franklin County Commission meeting minutes for October 8th, and consider the approval of corrugated metal pipe from Walburn Cells for the amount of $14,034.70. That's it.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Metter?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Chair Harris?
Yes. So ready for items of business, the special use permit application 1901-1646, Yoder, operation the rifle range, Pat.
Good morning, Commission. Today we're going to be speaking on the Great Plains Precision Rifle Range, common Address is 2245 K68. This is located 1 mile west of Ottawa to the north side of K68. This is a situation in which an SUP was approved for the Great Plains Precision Rifle Range in 2019. Since that time, the state of Kansas Wildlife and Parks have opened up the Flint Hills Trail for the use of the public to walk, run, ride, or horseback upon. Previously, it was closed in a large section to the public as there was not a safe crossing for pedestrians use across the BNSF Railroad. However, the right-of-way for the trail was established in 1995. As you can see, the sequence of events and the timeline that have unfolded in your staff report, the SUP has been brought back to your attention and the Planning Commission because we see the higher potential for an accident to happen with the format and conditions in what we have adopted per the original SUP. Overall, it was my decision to take further examination after hearing from multiple concerned citizens, my own personal research and observation in regards to public safety, along with a conversation that I had requested with an employee of the Kansas Wildlife and Parks in order to gain information and a timeline in when they were going to open the trail. For a quick background of how we got here, in January of 2019, the application for the SUP of the gun range was submitted. Notifications were sent out to the surrounding property owners of the required 1,000 feet of the property and published in the Ottawa Herald. On March 21st, the Planning Commission then conducted their meeting and made a motion recommending approval of the SUP with 11 conditions. Could you please pull up those first 11 conditions? Okay. Okay, so as we can see, we had our first 11 conditions. The special use permit was granted for the operation of the rifle range. Any other uses, we're going to have to come back in front of you guys. Number 2, the applicant shall maintain liability insurance of $1 million. Number 3, the parking area shall be improved with, dust-proof and waterproof material. Number 4, the on-site sanitation facilities will be necessary for the use of the requirements for around what was at the time 100 people. The applicant shall comply with all floodplain development permit requirements as set forth by section 16-6 in our county zoning regulations. Operations shall be limited to daylight hours. On number 6. Number 7, any signs would have to go through the permitting process. If we were going to try and advertise, we require a special use permit for those specific signages. The property shall be secured at all times. The firing range shall be constructed to the standards of the National Rifle Association and shall be certified and complied with prior to the use of an instructional and training facility. There is no overnight camping. And then the last one is the standard. If it goes out of operation within a year, that permit will no longer be operational. 3 weeks later, the County Commission saw the item and also made a motion to approve the SUP 1901-1646. A year later, July 13th, 2020, due to multiple citizens' complaints and requests, a study session was conducted through the County Commission. At the time, over an hour of conversation was had, and it was deemed that the range had in fact complied with all 11 original conditions with their SUP. All right. On May 15th, 2025, the Planning Commission once again saw the range agenda item. During this meeting, there were 179 attendees and 29 individuals who spoke on the matter. The Planning Commission discussed multiple matters and topics that revolved around the safety of the range. Ultimately, a number of new conditions were formed between staff recommendations, public comment recommendations, and general board discussion determinations. One of the requests that determined was that the board would like to see a professional engineer validate the existing or to design a range that meets the criteria for what is considered the best use, procedures, and practices to ensure public safety. The motion overall was tabled and continued. The continuance of the item was extended until an engineer report could be received by staff. Staff received the Netterveld engineer report late Monday, August 18th, and delivered to the Planning Commission the following day. On August 21st, the Planning Commission took up the item again and continued discussion. It was explained that generally the report that we received was not a visual blueprint of the range, but rather the perimeters based on the author's experience and expertise in the field of ballistics, in which using a formula based around the location and height of the physical target, that a berm be sized accordingly. Discussion overall accepted the criteria, and discussion then moved towards multiple other topics, including noise, time of firing, requirements of having a hired range safety at all times, and security concerns of the range overall. A motion was made and accepted the SUP with the following conditions. And I need to step back and grab it. Pull those up, please, Dean. Okay, so we started with the original special use granted. Any other changes, again, will have to come in front of you. Again, we're doing the $1 million of insurance liability. We did somewhat update the parking area. Shall be designed and improved to accommodate event participants and ensure that access drive remains clear and unobstructed at all times to allow for safe ingress and egress for emergency vehicles. The parking shall be surfaced with an all-weather material and maintained accordingly, with improvements complete within 6 months of approval of the special use. Number 4, the on-site sanitation facilities shall be provided and maintained at all times. Sanitation facilities shall be approved, subject to the approval of the county sanitarian prior to use. At this time, they're currently using portable toilets. If that's what they want to continue doing, we will abide by that. The applicant shall comply with floodplain development permit requires set forth in section 16-6, same as before. Number 6, the hour of operation shall be limited to Monday through Saturday, 7:30 a.m. until 7 p.m. or dusk, whichever is sooner, and Sunday, 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. or dusk, whichever is sooner. Exceptions may be granted for special events with prior written approval from the Franklin County Planning Department. Number 7, any advertising or business signs used in conjunction with this special use shall conform to Franklin County zoning regulations. Number 8, the property shall be secure at all times and install an automatic sliding gate with card access. Number 9, the special use permit shall not constitute a hazard or danger to the general public welfare, health, and or safety as determined by the state of Kansas or Franklin County, Kansas. Number 10, no overnight camping. Number 11, no retails or repairs of firearms shall be permitted as an accessory use to the outdoor gun range. Number 12, maintain appropriate bullet and shot containment systems to allow for effective reclamation and recycling in accordance with the industry best practice and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's best management practices for lead at outdoor shooting range, EPA-902-B-01-001. Documentation shall be provided to Franklin County Planning Department on a regular basis as needed, but not less frequently than 5-year intervals of the reclamation process, showing date of service, who provided that service, and the amount of reclaimed material to show that owners and operations are doing their part to conduct best management practices to prevent lead mitigation. Number 13, be equipped with all-weather warning signs posted on the average of one sign each 500 feet around the entire perimeter of the shooting range. Each sign shall be a minimum of 2 square by 2 square feet, shall contain wording of warnings around the premise, of warnings of shooting on the premises. Number 14, the range shall be designed by a licensed engineer to include projectile-proof backstops, embankments, and/or baffles, be designed to provide protection from accidental or stray ammunition from going beyond the boundaries of the property. C, all safety mitigations must be maintained to the engineered design specifications at all times. And then C, upon completion, modifications, a final site inspection shall be conducted by the Franklin County Planning Department to ensure compliance. Number 15, that all berms on the long-distance firing line meet the original special use permit size criteria of 20 feet tall, 40 feet wide at the base, 20 feet tall at the top of the berm, or use the criteria found in the Netterveld consulting reports, whichever is larger. Number 16, yearly inspections shall be done by the Franklin County Planning Department to ensure the berms have not settled and are at the engineered size and specifications. Number 17, no tracers or incendiary bullets will be used on site, and no bullets expressly designed or engineered for the intent of piercing armor plates will be used on site. And number 18, the special use permit shall be revoked upon a breach or failure to comply with any of these conditions of this special use permit provided by resolution or other applicable state and federal laws. Number 19, if the gun range is used, changed, or modified or expanded to include additional types of ranges, operations, or activities not permitted, including with this special use permit, the submittal of a site plan indicating the additional modifications or changes in operation of the gun range facility is required to have an approved amended special use permit prior to the commencement of the change, modification, or expansion. Number 20, a dedicated range master shall be on site during all hours of operation. And number 21, the special use permit shall be null and void by the operation of law if the special use permit has not initiated or has not been initiated and utilized by commencing the activity or use at the specified site in said permit within 1 year of date of approval. As staff, I will be making some recommendations to potential changes to these specific conditions as information pertinent to the situation has been researched and reviewed. I, as staff, have some recommendations to these conditions and concerns that may need clarification. I do not believe that we can condition the hours of operations based on sound according to the state statute, KSA 58-3221 through 32-24. We do not enforce sound once the SUP is established, and this would have been an argument at the time of the original SUP. Staff has added the condition of number 15 about the berm size after the motion was made by the Planning Commission. It was felt the original berm size should be the minimal distance for shooting. The overall plan still allows to shoot to the north for short-range shooting. It would be my assessment that 22 long-range rounds be the max caliber rifles used for those targets. However, this would be a requirement that would be governed by the range itself. As a follow-up question, what is the largest round if they're going to continue utilizing the northbound targets? And then what is the timeline in which these modifications can be constructed? And in the meantime, will there be a pause in service to the range while construction is being conducted? The Planning Commission did make their decision based on the Netterveld engineer report. The report does have the statement that the report was based on their investigation of the range. Much of the information for the development and constructed design of the actual range appears to have come directly from the author of the report based on their credentials as a ballistic engineer. Generally, when an engineer stamps off on a report, we take that with a high amount of confidence and of the information being presented. The other portion that is considered a safety mechanism for the range is the policies of the individual conduct based on the NRA guidelines with the 4 laws of gun safety to proper use and handling of a weapon in conjunction with the policies that are considered internationally accepted set of gun safety laws. Staff feels confident that the plan of action with these added conditions create a safe environment for the shooting activities that are to take place on this property. However, clearly dealing with the dangers within activities using firearms, there is an argument of what is the full context of what is considered safe. I have made contact with an engineer by the name of Kerry O'Neill from Total Range Solution, or TRS, as it is highly recommended by the chief engineer, Mr. Brett Blackburn, from the Kansas Wildlife and Parks. They have used TRS on multiple shooting range projects for the state, and I wanted to touch base with Mr. O'Neill to make contact and generally discuss the situation at hand. Obviously, limited verbal description, based on limited verbal description, we both spoke very generally and did not speak specifics of the actual design of this specific range, as he did not want to contradict a design without any real detail. The conversation was more about the process in which a design is created and the methods that are usually typically used. Through the conversation, he did mention that his company can be hired as a consultant to review what is in place, proposed, and what seems to be the best practice. Ultimately, I believe that in 2019, this range was going to be a group of 100 or so local people that wanted a place to be able to shoot on the weekends and occasionally on the weekdays. Since that time of approval, the range has grown membership 7-fold, with the expansion of memberships issues that have arisen that were not initially thought of. And as the original conditions were thought to have covered the basis for the request for the original application, with that said, the magnitude of the range now has moved into a higher echelons. Things like warning signs around the perimeter of the range are going to be needed to ensure that no unsuspecting hunters find themselves accidentally on the range. The potential for more parking and clean egress and access in case of the needs of an emergency, and restroom facilities to ensure that there is no spread of communicable diseases may be necessary. All of the added conditions are in the name of public safety and to include the shooters, the stakeholders in the area, and the general public as a whole. As the range grows in popularity, it should go without saying that these also increase the chances of mishaps and potential safety issues. The purpose of this entire process is to mitigate these issues as best we can given the inherent risks when using firearms. At the end of the day, we can only establish so many conditions, but it eventually ends up being personal responsibility and governance by the range and its safeties to ensure the safety of the people of all of the community. So with that, I have some photos that I want to show through a series of order. So first, we're going to start with the berms themselves. This is just a generalized photo of what a berm would typically look like at any given shooting range that you would go to. I've seen many of these at the military ranges that I've experienced in my time in the Army. You can see it's relatively large. We don't know what's on the backdrop. There's a lot of, but this is just a general representation. So if we go to the next picture, it kind of shows what the existing berms look like. So here are the berms in place. With that said, these are considered closer berms and are constructed to a smaller approved standard. We had 2 types of berms that were for the original SUP that they brought to our attention. One was at 20 foot and one was at 10 foot. These would be considered your 10 foot. Over time, they've obviously been eroded to the point I would say these are closer to 7 to 8 feet. I do believe that they could be brought to compliance pretty easily, but this is something that they're going to continuously have to maintain.
Is that picture taken from where you shoot?
That would be about where we shoot, yeah.
What are the
I was behind the
structures?
firing line at the time.
What are the structures in the background?
Those, I believe that's a silo, and that was one of the cranes, the.
On the bridge?
This is one of
They
the
were
cranes
working on
that
the
was constructing the bridge at the time, and I believe that's one of the silos, I believe, don't quote me, but I believe it's on Mr. Winkler's, property.
Is that the bridge that kind of
That is just, that's actually trees. I don't believe the tree was erected high enough at that,
next to the crane? That's the
to the left.
bike trail bridge?
I don't think you can actually
I
see
don't
it in
think you
that
can see the bridge
picture.
from here, to be honest. I mean, you may now because they put the top burnt, but when I took this up, I also visited the bridge and it had not been to that point of construction. And
Number one, what's the distance to the berm?
probably 50 to 70 feet,
What's the distance?
much further. So then we go on to, let's see, number 3, if we could go to. So what we want to get back to is these are the specs that were given to us as a minimum. It is my opinion that all long-range targets should have the minimum of 20 feet by 40 foot by 20 foot. That would be the top berms, and then we do away, if they're going to continue using the smaller berms for, say, the 22s, then they could potentially utilize the 10 foot by 20 foot. 22 foot at the base, 10 foot tall. I believe it's 12 across as well.
These are from,
These are from the original SUP, so that I pulled it from their own plans, and I think that should be at least the minimal standard, more so on the long-range ones as 20 feet tall.
okay,
Okay, if we can go to the range. The range as of now, most of the targets are relatively to the north. I know there are, I believe, a couple targets to the west of here that aren't shown, but they do generally get a little further as they go to the west, allowing for, longer ranges of target practice. So if we look at the next photo, and we can go back to these as we discuss. But currently, if you could maximize that, we're looking at just a hair under a mile to the trail itself at this time. If we are looking from the firing line to the trail, we're just a hair under a mile. Oh, please. Sorry. This is the projected locations of what is estimated where they will relocate the long-range targets for higher caliber rifles. As you can see, we've created a new firing line to the east, and we're now directing to the west as it is less, there's more land in between on the far side, and we'll show that here in a minute. But by rotating the higher caliber trajectories, it's felt that this is a much safer approach, getting away from directly towards the trail and then the neighboring community.
and there's no houses on that direction?
We'll get to that here in a
All right,
second.
thank you.
Next photo, please. So as you can see, there is actually potentially a dwelling down here, but the overall distance is roughly 2.5 miles to the trail, and we have to cross the river. We have a lot more space in between from what we were at in the first place.
You say a dwelling, isn't that where the dam is, all those shacks?
Is that Kiefer Dam?
Kiefer or Miller, I get the two mixed up. Kiefer? So there's quite a
I
few.
guess I've never been down there, honestly, at the end of that road, so. From the map, I just thought that was a singular dwelling, but, I mean, it's
There's
hard
at
to tell
least a
from
dozen
GIS.
down there, well, close to a dozen. It's been a long time since I've been down there, but.
Right. And we don't have any of that permit, I mean, as far as permits and stuff, I don't have any record of those
Been there a long
structures.
time, and
Yeah, they've been there a
Before
long time.
permitting.
So I didn't have any records to go off of. However, we have extended the length of distance towards the range itself, and then
the 2.5 mile figure, how'd you come up with, how's that significant?
it's more than less than a mile.
To the trail.
To the trail.
To the
Oh, I just went from shooting line to the trail. That's how I
Gotcha.
got the points of.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, next photo. And then generally, I just want to show that the entire area of this operation is within the floodplain. We won't be seeing too much, I mean, if you look directly to the west, we're not going to see much development other than agriculture happening directly to the west of which we've rotated the range. There's not going to be any building allowed as far as further continued building. And that was generally why we utilized the direction of travel with that, is knowing that we've, through practice of floodplain, it kind of eliminates any chance of development. So with that, that is pretty much what I have. Based off of the research we have done, that's what was proposed, and as far as the planning commission was discussed, and the motion for recommendation was made. I'm sure you have.
How many total acres is under?
I'm sorry, what?
How many total acres is under the permit?
So I believe you have roughly 500 on the main parcel, and then I believe those are 20 acres to the south of those 4 quadrants, or 20 each. And I couldn't tell you exactly the acreage of the one to the north, but it's also owned by the
At least
same
500
person.
acres.
Yeah, at a minimum of 500 acres, yeah.
I would like a point of clarification. So the original special use permit that we granted
Yes.
said that it was granted for the operation of a rifle range for firearm shooting competitions, firearm safety instruction and training. I do not see in there that recreational shooting is a part of that. It is, and over and over, I read it yesterday as I was reading it, was like, this special use permit is granted for the operation of a rifle range for firearm shooting competitions, firearm safety instruction and training, and recreational shooting, I don't believe falls under any of those.
That is a point of argument that could be made. I believe at the time, it was just assumed that these were going to be activities of a rifle range, generally speaking.
But if we approved it, thinking this is what it was going to be, anyway.
Absolutely, and maybe, I don't have an argument for what was had at the time, but that is an absolute argument that you can make. Okay? Anything further?
So this can look any way you guys would like it to. And talking with Dee here, sounds like it's somewhat customary to have the applicants come up if you would like to talk with them. Then let the public make their comments and then resume the greater discussion. That being said, if you would like to do it differently, but I think the full Q&A would probably be best served after we hear public comment. But if the applicants would like to come up and address the board now, this would be an appropriate time to do that.
That's fine.
Do you guys have anything you would like to?
We do public comment and then we address the board.
That's up to you guys. I mean, there's going to be discussion before and after public comment.
We can always call them back up to clarify anything.
Yeah, we'll do that for sure.
Once you introduce the deal, and then we'll get into comments, and you guys can come back out.
Hello, thank you. We've worked really hard to get where we're at, and I think we are offer a large service to the community with the building and growing of this range. Ms. Dickinson, I think as far as the question of recreational shooting, that would be as a general use as a rifle range and/or training. For people to zero the rifles and practice would be considered training. It would be the same as under recreational shooting. We sent a reply to the county based on the previous meetings and communications. Like Pat said, we've been in full compliance with the approved original permit. We've worked really hard and to police our members and to make sure that we are in compliance with that as well as the building of the range. With the Flint Hills Trail, when that was brought to our attention, we worked with Pat and determined that firing to the west would be a proper, safe solution. The last thing we want is anybody to get injured while on the range or off the range. So safety is a very large concern of ours. That's number one that we preach to all the members as well.
So have you stopped operating, stopped using the range in the meantime then?
We have spoken to our members and said, hey, we have removed targets that are nearest the trail. We have re-hit those safety features to our members and said, hey, you know, there's a trail here. This is why these targets are down. We're no longer shooting at these far targets. So most of our shots are now going towards that northwest direction anyhow.
Are the farthest targets inherently dangerous? Are they more, is there more risk associated with them?
With the no, it's just, those are the nearest to the trail currently with the berm positions where they're at. Those would be on that, I don't know if we can pull back up so where he showed it was like just under a mile going north, we removed those ones on that corner. And so now,
Is this the one you wanted?
No, the one that showed the targets.
I guess the trail goes behind every target.
right,
So you pick the ones closest to the farthest ones
correct.
away.
So the farthest ones in that area, we've removed straight.
They're not really shown.
No, right there. So any targets that are up in that top area, we've removed those as far as closest proximity to the trail. That was communicated on one of our previous meetings. And
It was a good faith effort.
It was-
As we move towards a conclusion to this meeting and this review of our permit.
I'm just trying to understand. I mean, they're all, the trail's beyond all of those targets. So I was guessing what risk factor you saw to make you choose those.
so that was communicated in agreement with the zoning planning board. We then,
So if I can back up for 1 second. We were working Pat, and I appreciate everything he's doing because this is tough. There's a lot going on. But we volunteered to move the direction of the firing line as, again, a good faith effort because we don't want anybody injured. That's not our point. We want safe operation of the range and of our neighbors. And one of the things in that discussion was, hey, why don't we pull the targets closest, again, as a good faith effort to make sure we're all operating a safe range, and then while we work through the conclusion of what this looks like.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the phrase safe. If you're shooting the same bullet at different berms, but you chose to eliminate the farthest ones away, the same bullet with the same energy could potentially strike the same target downrange. Why are the ones closer to you safer than the ones farther down?
it'd be, I guess in that frame of reference, it
They're
would,
more likely to miss because they're farther away?
no, not that they would be missed, but that was just communicated in our previous discussion with the board.
No, you're right, it's the same bullet going the same direction.
I think the question he asked earlier, and I would like to hear the answer to it. Would you voluntarily close the range down if we make a decision that everything is good to shoot a different direction?
So speaking with Pat, I mean, we have obligations with the range as far as scheduled. We just hosted, we hosted different series of competitions, and we're held to those for those attendees.
So to me, some of those comments are in conflict. Safety is paramount. We took some precautions to mitigate risk. We understand that, you know, there is inherent risk shooting downrange and there being something behind there, but the same projectile, the same target, the same backstop, you saw risk with some targets and not others.
It's not that I saw risk with those, that's what was, the board asked that we would remove those targets, and we did that.
But you don't perceive there've been, I think we're gonna hear about bullet holes in incidents downrange. Do you believe those are associated with your operation?
I believe that they are not.
Do you think it's possible?
It is not impossible for a bullet to go anywhere. But after looking at those incidences that were brought to my attention, and speaking with the engineer, that they do not meet the trajectory requirements to have come from the range.
Is it feasible?
Anything is feasible.
Probable?
According to our safety protocol, I don't feel that it is feasible.
Is it, you know, think it's feasible? It's not probable?
If as long as our safety procedures are followed, that we instruct our members to follow, it is not feasible.
How do you enforce your?
My concern, and what I'm getting at, we're gonna have a conversation and it's gonna center around safety. When you don't believe something is possible, or something is feasible, or something is likely, not only to show, I guess, how reasonable your management and use of the special use permit is, but also the precautions you're likely to take. If I don't think it's possible or feasible or likely, I don't take any precautions to keep elephants out of my yard, right? Because it's not feasible, possible, or likely. Captain of the Titanic said this ship can't sink. I guess when you don't think something's feasible, possible, or likely, your precautions, your attitude, your operations are different. I have concern that, right off the bat, that you don't seem even consider that what you're doing downrange has implications.
I understand implications, and I understand the trajectories of bullets, and I understand that stuff quite well. That's why we have enacted the safety procedures that we do with our members. Nobody goes out to the range and says, okay, today's my first day shooting at 1,000 yards, and I'm just gonna send rounds into the sky. That's not how it works. All of our members, they have to have a confirmed 0 at 100 yards with their scopes. Then they use ballistic applications, and they use safety and shooting protocols to give them a firing solution so they can dial up to the next berm.
In your
What's that?
original, I seen you explain that in your original application, but I guess the most basic form of containing that would be your berm, and your berms aren't to the height that you had originally indicated they would be either, are they?
Some have settled. But a lot of them, they still.
Since safety is paramount to you, did you cease operations and bring them back to the level that they were?
We are continually adding more dirt to the berms. We have an excavator on site, so we can do that. We're always doing berm work on these berms. Since we've received the engineer report back, a lot of the berms do meet the requirements of those. And the ones that don't, we've removed the targets from those. That's just what we've done in the meantime. As far as The, let's see.
Who determined that the incidents downrange, didn't come from your shooting range?
When those were brought to my attention, I asked if I could see those. We took angular measurements of them, and we took a azimuth reading from those. The azimuth does not line up with our firing line, and then the trajectory would have to be much larger to have impacted that at that distance.
The angle going into it.
So that angle, and
You're gonna show us pictures of,
if we go back to our original slideshow, if you want to pull that up, we can discuss that. So one of the impacts it was an 11-degree angle. In speaking with other professionals, we've determined that would be approximately the trajectory of a 22 from 200 to 300 yards, not over a mile. So we have a couple trajectory charts that just show at 2,000 yards how hard a bullet would be coming down.
I understand that, but a bullet at, say, 500 yards or whatever your farthest target doesn't cease to have velocity. It has a good deal of kinetic energy then, and anybody who shot a tracer round knows that they take a whole life of their own.
Well, the velocity, the farther you go, there's
And then your
less.
velocity, or your angle completely changes after they skip or hit something. It doesn't.
Well, and that's.
You're going solely on angle of impact once it hits that.
And that's all covered in the engineer report that was done by Neverwill. So like that shows.
Never.
Yes, ma'am.
By who?
Everville.
The ballistic engineer that was requested and we paid for.
So, I mean, that shows a extreme, at least a 45-degree, and I don't even know, I can't see what that one is. Yeah, I think that's just one of the slides that were in there. So, I can't see the bottom of that slide, but it didn't match up with what trajectory would be required to come from our fire line.
If it hadn't struck anything between, say, a tree or anything.
It would, at that point, it would lose velocity and it would no longer be stabilized generally.
But it would have a new trajectory.
Yes, and well, that is also covered in the Neverwill. He showed if he gave an example of a 7 PRC round which was basically it's optimal because of its high ballistic coefficient and its high velocity.
Is this
So they
engineered, are you associated with them?
I'm not associated. That was a requirement to have an engineer design. So we hired them for that engineer design, and that's part of his design basis.
So was it Mr. Passamanic who
Yes.
did it? And is he a member?
He's not.
Does he utilize your facilities?
He has never been to our facility.
He's not in the state. He's nowhere here.
He's located in Colorado. But this is his specialty. He's a forensic engineer. So he gave it an example of how if a bullet was to miss a berm, it would end up hitting it, say, 1,500 yards, and then it would, it's just one example, but how it would then ricochet and then impact again at around 500 yards or something. It would lose its velocity at that point. That was just that example he gave for that, and I'm not sure exactly without it in front of me.
I have a question. You said that you have, that all of your members know about the safety protocols that there's.
Yes, ma'am.
So how do you ensure that they're following the safety protocols? Do you have an employee out there at all times?
All the members, so I'm out there quite a bit. All of our other members, they police each other. We have a member that has a concern while they're out there, then they bring that to us and we address that.
Do you have teenagers?
Do I have teenagers? I do.
I had teenagers, when I had teenagers and I gave them the rules, they would definitely follow them 95% of the time if I was with them. When I wasn't with them,
We don't have any teenager members that
I'm
don't.
not saying teenagers, I'm just saying people don't necessarily follow the rules.
I understand.
If they don't have anybody out there saying, you aren't following the rules.
I understand.
So this is where, in all the research that I've done, it doesn't matter. I also am the one who contacted Carrie O'Neill with TRS because I called the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks engineer because we can't tell you what you can and can't do if the state gives us, like, we can't shut you down because of noise. So I wanted to make sure that we were following rules. I said in their, what do you want to call it, definitions, everything's based on generally accepted operation practices. And so I wanted to know what are the generally accepted operational practices. So I call the engineer at the state, and the state tells me to call Carrie because that is who they use. I had a very long phone call with Carrie. Also, he looked at your range from Google Maps. I don't know if we want to keep having this conversation now and let them finish, and then have the people and then get into like extreme details.
Maybe we
or-
should let them finish and they do public comment.
Probably smart.
And then that way they can finish their deal. They
And they
can,
can back
and
up.
I kind
And
of
they
started
can-
that, so then I can explain, real quick, so people know Carrie O'Neill owns Total Range Services. I can't remember all of his background. I believe he was probably military. He designs gun ranges all over the United States for government, personal, uses. He, also does litigation on both sides. So like if somebody says you come to them and they say, okay, these people are saying this bullet hit, there's one case like in Idaho, 4 miles away. He goes and helps do that. One of his comments, though, is he says, even if it's an allegation, he says the gun range never wins in those things. So that's where we need to work on building this as safe as possible, which, to your point, one of the comments was, if your range is built safe, then the idiot can come out there and shoot and the bullet won't leave the range. So, I mean, as I've told some people, everybody has a stupid friend. And so, like, you hope not that, but we know there's incidences where people do dumb things or something happens. So, briefly for that, I just wondered if we should let them finish, the people, and then we can bring you back, then ask more details, because I more want questions physically about the range and like, how would you build and those kind of things, so.
Since you guys haven't seen it, can we go ahead and redo our original slideshow that we presented to the zoning planning?
We can. So we have it on the attachments, but yeah.
I mean, a lot of the questions that you're having or that we've talked about in this presentation. This is some of our background. You go to the next one if you want. I'm former Marine. I've spent generally my whole time in the Marine Corps, either on ranges or deployed. I was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan.
You're Tim?
Yes, sir. This is Dave.
Oh, good.
So, I was with infantry units and we train on ranges. When we weren't training, we were resting and then preparing for deployments. So we getting out of the Marine Corps, I was already into long range shooting and there was a need. There wasn't any place to shoot over 300 yards in hours. The nearest place is probably west of Salina, 45 minutes or so, to shoot a bit more distance. So, and that's generally because of the way property's laid out. So I found the property, and then we started the planning sequence to develop the range. The range has been a very large success in our community with local shooters and then with competitions. And it draws people from all over the country, honestly. We just hosted a regional finale that we had 110 shooters come from all over the country, and that day they shot 11,000 bullets. No, there's been no word of me of anything leaving the range. So I've gone down range, I've gone on the trail while we're shooting. I've not witnessed anything. I've heard no reports of anybody on the trail. I'm in all the trail groups. I'm just sitting there listening to people communicating, you know, I see people ask questions about the range, and I never hear anything about, hey, we saw this, or we heard this, or whatnot, in all those groups, and with the time that the trail's been open in that area.
So I'm Dave Powell, former Army officer, so I was also in the infantry. A former Army brat. My dad was a 20-year Army vet as well. So I run ranges in the military as well, and then got out, did Glock competitions in 2-gun and 3-gun, so pistol, rifle, shotgun, and then really started to enjoy the long range. And as Tim said, there's nothing close to this area for it, which has really driven our success and helped us grow beyond what we really thought we would be able to do, which has been great. But we do want to run a safe range. So we again, want to work with the board, and we worked with Pat as well as to find the best solution. One of those was requested was to bring on a ballistic engineer. I hadn't heard of Total Range Solutions, so we're part of National NSSF, National
Shooting Sports
Foundation, and they have folks on their Rolodex for engineers and lawyers and that kind of thing. Say, hey, we need a range ballistic officer or ballistic engineer to look at our range and give us solutions, which is what we brought back to the Planning Commission. So part of your solution, we are a private facility. So that's one of the main ways we cut down on dum-dums showing up at the range doing dumb stuff. Everybody is a member. Everybody is required to come to. Did I come that next? Go to the next one. No, sorry, skip that one. You already got that background. Yeah, every member has to come to a new member safety orientation. We conduct those monthly. It's about a 3 or 4 hour course where we go through how the range operates, what those safety procedures are, what it looks like to handle a firearm safely on the range. And as Tim was saying, all shots have to start off at 100 yards. You can't roll up and go, I'm going to shoot 1,000 yards today and just start wailing away. That is not something that's allowed. It's communicated to every member by us personally. And then we watch them shoot. We want to see that they know what they're doing. They shoot at 100 yards. We want to make sure they understand how to run a firearm, that they understand what a zero looks like. And that's one of the major ways, and the engineer said the same thing in his reports, one of the major ways we cut down on the stupid.
So these are some local departments that use the range. Topeka SWAT teams, Lawrence SWAT, Olathe Police, and Kansas Army ROTC. They get their cadets experience shooting before they end up traveling, and it's a good training environment for them. A lot of those departments come out, they do the training, they come in, they go. So we're very happy to support our local law enforcement and help them with their professional abilities. We host competitions. Competitions is just a way that you can it's showcase your skills and talent. We have, in this case here, this is a father-son, where the father is spotting for the son. The son is a national level shooter as a youth, which is spectacular that he comes from our area and is able to grow and be as successful as he is.
Your events that are coming up that you referenced, is it multiple? Is it just one? What do you have?
We have monthly events. So we have one group. We have a large NRL 22 group. It turned out it's grown to be one of the largest 22 groups in the country, where they're shooting off of like things like that deuce and a half or rocks and whatnot. And so we have a monthly schedule for them. So they come out the fourth Saturday of every month and utilize the range for that.
and I'll ask follow-ups probably later pertaining to this, but is it fair to say that the folks that attend your competitions, are they highly skilled marksmen typically, or do you have like beginner competitions, like, or does it run the gamut of skills and abilities? What is that?
I would say a lot of the individuals in the competitions are better shooters than most individuals just off the street. So, but a lot of those individuals still use the range. So that's the caliber of our range members. The range is not cheap to shoot. So a lot of people, they hear like we require an annual membership. We don't open it just for like daily use. So daily use ranges are very unsafe, I feel, that I've been into. That's where they require a range officer. All of our members are trained as range officers, so they understand the safety procedures and can operate the range. That's why we've done that. I think most ranges that every range that I've been to that is a private facility where the members are trained as range officers can operate the range, they are the range officer while they're there. If they see any safe act, if they see anything that's about to happen or going to happen, or they know that they can stop that and call a ceasefire, whatever they have to do to stop something that appears to be unsafe. So that's why we've established the range as it is, not as a public range where we would have to have a staffed safety officer. That's why we've set it up as a private shooting facility where everyone is trained. So that was one question I had as far as the requirements that have been proposed for a range officer. So if I'm shooting, do I need a range officer while I'm there? So that's so that's where a private range is different than what a public range would be as far as having a range safety officer.
To your other question, if we've got, I got told to move it closer. When we've got a competition, we've got new shooters, they get paired up in a squad with experienced shooters to keep an eye on them, make sure they know what they're doing and they're doing it right. And we go over the safety features before that competition as well, so everybody's on the same page.
Is there, and forgive my ignorance, I've never been to one of these, is there a standalone range officer in attendance at all competitions?
We have, they break up into groups, and when they're not shooting, they are overwatching the other
I
shooters.
think I've got a picture, yeah. So this is a competition,
So one guy's shooting,
and you've got
and you got 5 guys behind them
watching
where the bullet's going.
not only the
so-
bullet, but the shooter. And so
I think what he's asking, nobody shows up that day to police the range, to be the.
They're policing themselves, just as our members do.
So you can't see it, and I didn't use the best picture. While someone is shooting, there is somebody next to him that their job is, 1, to time, and 2, to make sure that they're moving safely. So yes, there is not a person, it is a person per stage while you shoot.
It is a group, as a group, so, and that's a standard that that is used across the country for all these shooting events. This is a sign that was located on Osborne Terrace. The sign is for that Flint Hills Trail, and it is shot to all hell.
Where at?
It was just north of the Cunninghams area, I believe. So it'd be northwest of the range area. So this just shows that we're not the only people shooting out in the county. It's been my understanding that people actually are very unsafe. People think they can just go out in the county and shoot into tree lines. And obviously from this is all taken from a vehicle. So somebody's drove up, shot a sign. Who knows where those bullets have gone? Looks like there's private property behind it. So it's just been my experience that if you go around the county, you see a lot of shot up signs, which is a very, very unsafe act. You're shooting towards, you don't know if there's houses behind them, whatever. That's something we don't condone, but I'm just trying to illustrate that, like Mrs. Meador said, that the range is always to blame, but, so we just want to make a safe place to shoot, is where I'm trying to get at.
That's true.
So if somebody's, and there was reports where they heard bullets zip by them. We understand, and I can run all the calculations on all the bullets. I can tell you where a bullet goes from supersonic to subsonic. At approximately 1,200 yards from where it's fired from, the bullet transfers into a subsonic range, and you're not going to hear the bullet. So if those neighbors are hearing bullets shoot by their house, zing, whatnot, they're not coming from the range. They're being fired from a closer position. I've personally actually been shot at twice while on our firing line from people shooting off of 68 Highway. There were some grain bins that were on the corner. Somebody shot in our direction from those grain bins. They just pulled off the highway, rattled an AK into our vicinity, got in the car and left. Another time, there was an individual. He was actually a KDOT employee on 68. You can see like that tuft of trees on the bottom corner there where it says K68. That's actually KDOT land. There's an employee in there. He had a target set up facing our firing line and was firing in our position. So people just go out to the county and shoot. They don't have backstops. They might just stick a sign in the ground, go back 50 yards and shoot at it. Who knows where those bullets are going. So we're just trying to create a safe place to shoot. And we know where our bullets are going. So when we fire, we can see, even if you don't hit the target, if the wind's blowing from left to right and it pushes your bullet to the side, you can see the bullet impacting the berm. So even if you miss, the bullet's not going forever. We use ballistic apps. There's a ton of them. They're free. We urge our members to use them. They develop ballistic charts. They tape them to their guns, and they say, okay, at 200 yards, I need to dial 0.3. At 800 yards, I need to be 1.2. So they have a very calculated measure. They're just not Kentucky windaging, holding it in the direction and hoping they're going to hit it. So it is a very calculated approach. These guys spend a lot of money. They have some rifle setups. I mean, you can be in the tens of thousands for scope and rifles and then the ammunition they're buying. So even when you're spending sometimes $5 a bullet, they don't want to waste those bullets.
So, question I got.
Yes, sir.
Are you guys in agreement that we need to change the angle of the?
That was our actually proposal.
Okay.
I fully believe that. I think that would address the safety concerns to the neighbors to the north. That would address the safety concerns of the vicinity to the trail and whatnot. So for our high caliber rifles, shoot those to the west and then utilize the north firing for 22s, or we have a bay that we can contain that. We can have a substantial berm on that to make that into just 100-yard range.
So everything can't be turned and shot a different direction where it's not.
We would like to, because of the facilities that we built, instead of tearing out all the concrete and tearing all the structures that we have there, they're not permanent structures, but to turn that into a 22-yard, for a 22 caliber area for that 22 group that we have, and then turn our, what is currently our 100-yard bay on the right, you can shoot into further distances, turn that into just a big 100-yard bay, have a substantial berm behind that, and then, so that way, we would have our long range up on the side, as you can see there.
So how long would it take to get this built? I mean, you need to build like one good berm to be able to have your competition?
Well, and
one-
so, no, so we have one target per berm, basically,
How
so,
long would it take you to build 10 berms?
so currently now, there is, crop surrounding the range, and so we can't do any changing of direction until those crops are out.
And that's getting ready to happen.
They're getting ready to harvest now. So our plan is, as soon as those crops are harvested, we're gonna start laying it out and arranging that new direction of fire, and then we can start moving dirt.
So they aren't gonna plant crops again then if you move it that way?
Not,
Where the range is.
We're gonna, right, so we're gonna lease more land to move the range.
Oh, I see.
And purchase more, lease more acreage for this move. We have to schedule with dirt movers to come in and get it moved.
so a lot of things have to happen. We have to have equipment on site, we have to have trucking to,
do
truckers
you
just on, within
have-
the property.
This was also predicated on the assumption that there was one house down there. I mean,
I guess
with
my,
Kiefer's Dam, there's at least a dozen.
That hasn't come up in any previous meeting, so that's news.
We
I guess
can,
my question would be, and then I'd like to hear the people, and then we can go back to all this. But, do you have more than what Netterveld gave you for engineered plans? Like, when I think engineered plans, I think more of like the one pictures that you originally posted with like, okay, each one of those dots, you're gonna tell me this is this range, this berm's gonna be built to these specs. And,
so,
His plan basically says that. It says for this distance, this is your dimensions.
and so one of the things is in the original, which I'd like to maybe do this after the people talk, but one of the original things on number 9 in your original SUP, it says the firing range shall be constructed to the standards of the National Rifle Association and shall be certified as complying prior to the use as an instructional training facility. Have you read the NRA range source guidebook that's 600 pages long?
I have,
Yes.
I have, so we've actually, after our original approval,
Who did that? Who certified it?
so after our original approval, we reached out to the NRA, and the NRA told us that they do not certify ranges.
No, they don't.
So you found that.
Because Mr. O'Neill helped write the NRA source
Right.
guidebook.
So,
And he says all they do is get you in trouble because that means they are underbuilt. And so I want to make sure that you have written down, because in the NRA, if you're going to do the NRA source book is the minimum
there's
recommendation.
all different types of designs for
Yes.
shotguns and pistols
But like,
and.
one of the things they say is it needs to be in red in the source book, that you need to have 95% compaction on all those berms. And just by pictures online of your berms, they were not built to NRA specifications. So like that picture of when that berm that Pat showed, that's what I imagine in my mind a 20-foot high berm would be, because you wrote in that original permit, or, in the beginning, that those further ones were gonna be 20 feet high. And just for perspective, your shipping containers usually average 8.5 feet high. You have them stacked, so that would be 17 feet high. And looking out there, obviously, depth perception, those berms, I don't think are as tall as those two stacked shipping containers. This all boils down to the fact that the berms are not built correctly. Like, yes, Mr. Passamanik, that's my one concern, is he is a forensic engineer. He's very credentialed in what he does, but how many berms has he physically, how many ranges has he built to say that these berms need, because shooting is very important in my family. And like some of the same things, memories, like learned to shoot a gun before I rode a bicycle. I was not in the military, but I was in Army Explorers with military training. We had we shot guns at our wedding reception instead of having a dance. I was shooting sports coordinator for over 10 years. for Franklin County and Eastern Kansas Western Heritage. My kids shot guns. We did not play sports with balls. So, I mean, it's important. And I'm making this like it needs to be important because if there is an accident, it ruins it for all of us who love to shoot. And I don't want that to happen. And so you sound willing, you want it safe, but what Mr. Pasmanic says in this does not give me confidence that, if a berm's only going to be this high, when I talked to Mr. O'Neill, who the state recommended, says that industry standards, because I said, is a 20-foot high berm enough? Because initially I said, if those berms would have been 20 feet high, allegedly, Mr. Winkler would have never had any bullets.
So quick
walk-
clarification, on the original, the 20-foot berm was anything beyond 1,000 yards?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the pictures were of 200.
Yes, and then the
That
other
was a
ones
very close
said
one.
about 10 foot high, and they're not 10 foot high either.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, and they don't look like they're compacted properly. I mean, and I drive by almost every day. Obviously, you can do a lot of work, and I don't see the excavator move. They don't look, by the weeds on them, it does not look like dirt has been added to them. Things I'd want to see an engineered report after you build these, like erosion control, things of that nature to keep them safe. Anyways, that's where I want to get into more details and get the people talking, and then we can discuss all the details.
Does anybody else got any questions for him?
That's fine.
We just wrap it up, get with them, and then we'll get back with you.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. First.
Linda Alderman.
Can you call him?
I'm Linda Alderman. I live at 2010 Osborne Terrace, 1.6 miles north of the shooting range. This is a plea for safety, not during the competition shooting, but on just the regular daily time when people go out there and shoot on their own. Not only for the safety of the residents living north of the range, but also those using the Flint Hills Trail. According to my understanding of the original agreement, bullets are not to leave the rifle range property, nor are targets to be aimed towards the Flint Hills Trail. We, the residents of Osborne Terrace, can hear when a bullet hits a target and when it misses. Some of the members of the rifle range are not the expert marksmen that the owners of the range claim them to be. They miss the target quite frequently, and because the berms are not built to standard, the bullets are leaving the gun range. Not only have the Osborne Terrace residents experienced the sound of bullets passing by, but people have reported hearing bullets whizzing by them on the Flint Hills Trail. Some are choosing to exit the trail and continue on the old detour on Osborne Terrace. Now, I've stopped a few of these riders and asked them why they're using the county road instead of the trail. Some are just masochists and they enjoy riding on gravel, but there are some that are avoiding the rifle range area. This lovely, newly completed portion of the trail is being avoided because of the danger the rifle range possesses. The word is out. Bullets have also hit private property north of the range. Targets pointing towards the Flint Hills Trail and bullets leaving the gun range property puts the Great Plains Precision Rifle Range out of compliance with the original agreement. Also, the more frequent use of the big guns and automatic weapons that we've been hearing lately only adds to our anxiety as to where these bullets are going and how far. Some of them can go 4 miles if they miss. With no range master overseeing the operation of the range, how is the use of these weapons being monitored? Imagine, if you will, going outside on your property and having pre-planned who you will call should you get hit with a stray bullet. This is happening on Osborne Terrace. This is a true story. We are tired of getting shot at. The rifle range is not safe for us or for those using the Flint Hills Trail. Thank you.
You own property along the bike trail.
On the bike trail, yeah, we do.
Have you, since it's opened, have you had any incident, has anybody shot off of that?
Shot off
Off
of,
of the, gone to the bike trail and shot along your property? Have you seen anybody on the bike trail shooting?
no, no.
Okay, thank you.
Dawn Rumford?
Good morning. I'm Dawn Rumford. I live at 2124 Osborne Terrace. The south end of our property is our bean field, and it's exactly 1 mile from the rifle range. Our house is 1.2 miles from the rifle range. We are very concerned with the safety we have. When this was originally started, they had 100 members, they said. As you have heard, there's 7 times that many members. That's a lot of rifles. That's a lot of guns being shot towards us. Very concerning, very scared. I don't feel safe. Currently, they said that they would never have very many competitions. According to a written document, they have over 30 per year. That's at least twice per month, if not more. The security is not good at all. Obviously, if there's a planning and zoning commission member that can drive onto the property, stop, get out his rifle and set up, that tells me there's no safety issue. There's a safety issue there. It's not safe. They're not doing their job. The berms are a huge concern. If they're supposed to be 20 feet tall, we know they're not. Also, those targets are pointed towards our homes. I take care of my grandchildren 2 days a week. It's kind of scary to think that I built a playground out there for them to play, and I got to come into town and play because I don't want anything to happen to those two. Furthermore, I contacted the railroad. My husband has contacts that he uses all the time, so I called them. They had no idea that the shooting range was that close to them. It's a mile from the railroad track. According to them, in their report, they said, well, we have it down, it's 2 miles away. And I said, oh no, you need to get on Google Maps and do some mapping. That's not right. They also didn't realize that the targets were pointed towards the railroad. We had a train derailment a year ago behind our house. It was just corn. Yeah, it was kind of fun to watch. My grandkids enjoyed them watching clean it up. I don't want a chemical spill behind my house. That's another safety issue. During the 2019 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, Mr. Yoder made a couple comments. He said the goal was not to have super caliber rifles on site. The biggest rifles would be youth rifles. We all know that that's not true. They're shooting automatic rifles down there. We hear it all the time. There were no plans for national tournaments. I don't know what a multi-state or a regional tournament is, but that's a national tournament in my books. Furthermore, he said there'd be no concession stands. We would support Franklin County. That's not true. They bring food trucks in all the time. That's a concession stand in my books. They're not following the rule or what the words they said that they would do. That's scary, that's sad, it's frustrating. I pay my taxes each year for Franklin County. The range is a safety hazard to people living on Osborne Terrace and those visiting our homes. It is also a safety concern for those that use the trail. There has been a failure by the Great Plains Precision Rifle Range to comply to their special use permit. I hate to see a headline happen someday that says Franklin County had an accidental shooting and where it came from. We don't need that publicity. Thank you.
Have you had any issues with anybody on the trail?
No, and we're outside all the time. We're out there working on our farm, doing things. We've never had anybody. And they cleaned out most of the trees behind our property so we can see people. And all we see are people riding their bikes. Nobody has ever shot from there. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next.
Lori Stokes?
Good morning. Thank you for giving us the time to share.
Your name and address, please.
I'm sorry?
Your name and address.
I am Lori Stokes. I live at 2158 Osborne Terrace for 23 years. I have concerns, not just as a homeowner, but also as concerned citizen. My daughter Roberta Miller and I also sent you emails regarding our concerns. I am here because I feel the Great Plains Rifle Range poses a real danger to my family and my neighbors, both in terms of safety and property values. I am concerned with stray bullets. I live approximately 1.3 miles from the gun range. Bullets from high-powered rifles can travel well beyond this distance. Bullets from a .22 rifle can travel over 1.5 miles. Bullets from an AR-50 in good conditions can travel over 4 miles. Bullets have already been found on neighboring properties where children play and families gather. That means that I and my neighbors live in a danger zone. Beyond the physical danger is our property values. A study by Realtor.com found homes near a shooting range can decrease the value by 3.7%, or take longer to sell, or don't sell at all. For many of us, our homes are our greatest investments. I am not anti-gun. I also shoot, but I am pro-safety. I respectfully request that you review these concerns and consider action to ensure the safety of residents in this area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Cunningham.
Chris Cunningham, 2146 Osborne Terrace. I would like to talk about an incident on August 28th. I was outside my residence about 9:45 at night. I heard some sounds, thought it was maybe fireworks, and then I kept listening, didn't see fireworks. This went on finally about 10, a little after 10, I drove around to the entrance of the gun range and found that the gate was dummy locked. And at that moment, I heard gunshots going off in there. Franklin County Sheriff's Department arrives. They go in there, find that there is people in there shooting that are not members, that they had gotten either a key or combination, however the lock is, from somebody else. They were from out west, Salina, Fort Riley, somewhere. And they were in there shooting, did not have permission. Just use somebody else's deal. So security is not what we all feel it is or should be. And those sheriff's deputies, I won't name their names because I don't want to put them in the spotlight, but they said that they talked to those guys and that they were not aware of what was downrange, had not been there, had not went through the training, and that they I'm sorry, this is hard for me. I've buried 2 children, and I don't care to do this again. And my house is 1.1 miles to my bedroom window where I lay. 1.1. And I have a foreign exchange student this year that lives above me that I'm watching somebody's child from Germany that's 1.1 mile. And my dad was also a shooting sports instructor, took a team to nationals in Atlanta, Georgia. And gun safety is very near and dear to me. You know, there should be a range master. Is the line safe? There is not any of that. To just say that we all should be policing each other is not a good safety practice. I'm frustrated to hear that it was a 1,000-foot radius that we sent that out in 2019. Well, bullets travel far more than 1,000 feet. All we got was agricultural people. I wanted to hit on $1 million insurance. Do you think that covers somebody's life? I can tell you that won't cover either one of my sons' lives. I don't know. And that crane, by the way, that you all saw in the photo, that's where my house is. That's the location of my house, just so you have for reference. Thank you.
I will state real quick, the 1,000 feet, which I don't agree with in certain circumstances, is a state statute. So in circumstances of other nature, I feel like if something's going to affect you from further away, there should be longer, but that's the state, and then we have to go to the state. So anyway, so just making that for general knowledge for everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Randy Winkler.
My name's Randy Winkler, 2214 Osborne Terrace. My house is directly downrange of most of the targets. I will try to keep this brief. I am for the Second Amendment. I am for owning guns. And I also am for safe ranges. This is not a Second Amendment issue, but a safety issue. Over 5 years now, I've gone back and forth with the gun range owners regarding the damages to our home and our brand-new shed on our pasture. We know of at least 7 bullets on our property, and we have been able to dig out 3 of them so far. This does not include the healthy cow that mysteriously died just 20 yards from where 3 of the bullets have landed. And that was one of the first incidents. I did not look into it, so I can't guarantee that's what happened. May 8, 2021, a bullet landed in the yard 10 feet from me. A neighbor from town witnessed this. When I recalled and reported to the police, I was told there was nothing they could do because they had a special permit. I reached out to Tim Yoder, who denied the bullet was from his gun range. When I told Tim I would be willing to take a bullet in the leg if it meant keeping my granddaughter safe, his response was, "We have insurance." September 9th, 2023, we had a bullet enter the south side of the house, through the house into the attic above the garage. I called Tim. He asked me to text me my address. He came out, took measurements, and admitted that bullet came from the gun range. He told me to get estimates of the damage, and he would pay to have it repaired. He never kept his word. On January 24, 2025, we discovered a bullet hole in our brand-new shed in our pasture. We contacted Tim Yoder. He again asked us to get an estimate for the damages, and he would pay for the repairs. Once again, another lie. On March of this year, 2 Domlinger construction men who were part of the Rails for Trails new bridge where the crane was, working in my pasture as part of the job site. A bullet landed approximately 10 feet from them. Aaron Domlinger wrote a letter to Patrick regarding this situation. On May 15, 2025, we found another bullet in a hedge post near a new shed. I was in the process of building fence, and I had a pile of hedge posts there. New bullet hole in a hedge post.
Finish up.
Okay. May 23, 2025, we found another bullet in a white trailer on our property just a few feet from our home. August 24, 2025, we removed another bullet from the south end of our residence. We filed a police report prior to the removal of the bullet. The part of the report also includes pictures. In July of this year, I contacted my insurance agent about the property damage. Of course, of this conversation, he informed me that the property value of our house has decreased due to the complexity of the gun range. Over and over, I have tried to give Tim the benefit of the doubt, even more than when high-powered rifles being shot at 10:30 at night. Over and over, I've been lied to. Thousands of dollars of damage, sleepless nights, and fearing for my family's safety when we're outside are reasons I stand here today. I ask you to please take those of us who face these challenges daily, take into consideration. Thank you very much.
Any more?
The only other 2 signed up are the owners of the gun range.
Yeah. Any discussion before we have them come back out? What are your thoughts?
Can we take a break?
Yeah, that's fair.
Break.
You want to recess for
That would be great.
Yeah.
10 minutes or so?
whatever you want, Rod? Just make a motion to
10 good.
recess and.
Fine. Good.
10 minutes, take a break. We'll be back at 10:15. Let's call the meeting back to order. And we're looking for the applicants to come back up. More questions?
Not yet. Let's,
We
can
can
we,
talk amongst ourselves.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Hold on, I need a drink. Okay. I guess. Just comments, like when they were talking, and some thoughts that I had, just to like clarify things. We do know that they're shooting fully automatic guns there. I will say that's something, there's a lot of things that you can do to guns nowadays that make them sound like fully automatic. So even though they are definitely shooting fully automatic, because they said when ROTC comes out and things like that, but just putting it out there that like, you know, not all the guns may be fully automatic, they just may sound like they're fully automatic. Benefit of the doubt. Now, if you're always shooting at a steel target and they're constantly shooting at a steel target, you should hear ping, ping, ping. But they also probably do paper targets and like that too, so that might, I'm just benefit of the doubt, throwing that out there just on some comments on that. Now, I guess, I don't know, honest truths about what's going on. I guess how the current, like your current SUP that you got in 2019 is not being followed by like what the commissioners at that time, the planning commission voted on at that time. I feel that you're not following it out of your great success. I don't want that sounding like a backhanded compliment, but like you have had such success that it's almost made you not in compliance. So some of it is, you know, at that time, the planning and zoning and the county commissioners, you know, voted on way less members. To your success, you have way more than what you ever thought. There was conversation, and it was more like comments from somebody on the planning commission about what would be shot out there. I think they were talking about like a 243, if I said the numbers right. But you are shooting way higher caliber rounds than what anybody at that time ever thought was going to be shot. I know that at least up to 50 cals have been shot out there just from pictures that I've seen. And I'd be curious if anybody's shooting anything higher, if anybody gets into like the 600 or 700 nitros or 20 millimeter. We hope not, but I mean, it would be fun to shoot, but I don't want anything like that out there. Also, fully automatic weapons were never discussed in that original SUP. You know, like having the ROTC, which I think in the grand scheme of things is not that big of a deal, but it all boils down to the safety of the range. Another thing, which I don't know how this applies because it's on the land that you actually purchased, Mr. Yoder, and I have no problem with it, but an archery range was never discussed, and there's that. The main thing is that the shooting berms were not built to the specifications that you provided in the original application and are still not to those specifications. And that all falls, in my interpretation, falls under not following the generally accepted operation practices, especially when they said, looking back in that original one, saying following the NRA source book just as a guideline. I know they have, you know, disclaimers of like, you do this, we're not going to stand behind it, but it's not even to those minimum standards. And so those are ways that I see that it's not in compliance to the original one. Now, what I would like to see is full engineered plans of the range with berm dimensions, heights, distances. Also, when speaking to Mr. O'Neill on the phone, you know, and him looking at it with, I guess the way I would call it is your range is like open-ended. So you have berms everywhere, but there's nothing that encloses the range. I would like to see, you know, along that, I don't know if you want to pull up mine's zoomed in, but the picture that's one of the ones, like what you're going to have is the 22 range. It would be 500 feet long, but a 20-foot high berm that's 500 feet long. There, and even at the long range ones, and I'd also like to see a baffle system to where your line of sight, like you can oversee the target. I mean, these are the things that are going to, I mean, there's always the freak thing, but really minimize any rounds, you know, not hitting a berm. If you can come up with a baffle system. One of the things that Mr. O'Neill also said when speaking with him is, I mean, he was shocked at how many members you had. He was like, wow, and that was awesome. But he also said, you're going to have to spend some money to like make this range safe. In this picture, I just have questions of, and I know when we went out there, down at the far right corner, is that like going to be pistol ranges? I can't remember what all you currently have out. I know you have a berm that separates the ranges. I don't know if there's one up there.
How it's illustrated is that tall step there, that'd be 100 yards.
Okay, which the, okay, yeah, right there.
So, yeah, so some sort of a multi-enclosed design, like kind of what Pat showed, where it shows berm on the sides.
Okay, and that's
the plan for that area.
okay. And then what's the box that's up a little further to the north? Yes.
That'd be a large berm.
To go, okay, across. So that's what I'm thinking. And I guess to the detriment of like the planning commission, not knowing those things and having, and I think that's why they did their best, but they could never talk about range design because this was so ambiguous of like what, and then what to look at. So the very furthest one close to the property line, what's that yardage?
Or this berm, that'd be what
You know what yardage that would be?
approximately 1,300.
Okay. And so then my other question is, in that meeting in, whatever it was, the last one you had with the planning commission, I didn't get a good answer, like that 22 range. So, I mean, if will, like at the 100 yards, because you say you have them, or 1,000 yards, whatever, are you going to still have 1,000 yards where you have that big berm? Are they still going to be shooting all calibers that direction along with 22 to the north? I guess this would be the question.
Where would it go up to the?
Sure.
So what our plan was to remove the long range and turn that into an intermediate range, which would be standard with what you'd see a lot of times on like NRA range. Generally, NRA ranges aren't going to go past 500 yards.
Yeah.
So that was our plan, was to turn that into an intermediate range out to that area.
Current fire line has all of our existing
Yeah.
construction, and that's 500 there with the larger berm, like you said.
Uh-huh.
So that would not be open for daily use
Other than 22s.
besides for 22s, which 22s, I know people say that a 22 can go 1.5 miles. We shoot 22s out to maybe 500 yards, and they're coming down so hard. You have to watch the dirt to see if it hits the target because it doesn't even leave a mark on the paint. It's falling down so hard. That's the terminal ballistics of that. We would like to use that for competition use, where we have our high-level shooters and shooting at those intermediate ranges. Generally, those guys are shooting offhand at 400 yards.
And so in that intermediate range, would you still be allowing like 6.5 and those kind of
Just
rounds?
only for competition use.
Okay.
But then on that little stair step, those would be bays. So that'd be like a 100-yard bay, 50-yard bay.
100 yard for zero, with a big berm, very similar to what I'm showing. 50 yard, that's what 22 is zero at generally. And then 25, which is the exact picture he had, which was 3 sides with a big end. That's Harbin Bay at 25.
Uh-huh.
So that's shooting.
And then will you be, let me see if I have a picture. Will you be getting rid of, because that one's so zoomed in, like what your current 1320,
We would be
getting rid of that one? That's up-
moving that into this orientation.
Okay, and then the same with, there's another one that's on like a hook of the,
I can't reach.
yeah, there's that one.
11,
Yep, that would be coming out as well.
there's a 13.
Uh-huh. Okay,
You got a laser pointer?
I know, I was like, I should have.
All right. So, left to right here.
Uh-huh.
13, 1100.
Current 11.
And then and within that cove, you can kind of see the trees. I mean, those are large trees. It's actually a water drainage area into the river. But, so we have some berms along those. We'd be taking all those out.
860, 870, and 700. So anything beyond 500.
All those would be coming out. And then there's some on the right side. Those are all coming out as well.
Right now, there's a 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1,000 that go along this. Those would all come out as well.
And so then, based on the topography, we would place berms going out towards the west direction. And a lot of times you really, based on how the ground dips and stuff, sometimes you gotta move those berms so that they're on a high spot or whatnot. So that's why they're not illustrated on there, but they will be in that wedge area. It has been brought to our attention that I've been asked by multiple local high schools about putting in trap ranges. So that's something that we would like to do in the future. Currently, all of the high schools are traveling outside of the county to practice and to compete their trap. So that's something that we want to also do as well to help our local community for that.
So really, the dirt would be scooping up existing berms, trucking them over, and reestablishing them where they make sense.
Now, have you ever thought about like, depending on your hoe hand, getting like a bulldozer and like doing both? Like, I don't know what the water table is and what would be allowed, but cutting into the ground and building up, so then like they're shooting down, but then you have that dirt to build up.
I don't know if that's really feasible in our area we're already in a floodplain, and then, so all the dirt is local, it can't come from outside the floodplain, so we're taking it from the same site. So I think we would just end up creating a lake if we were to do that.
And especially.
With our vicinity to the river.
So what we're doing.
So this way we can still create, we're not disrupting the flow of the drainage. So that way.
The 1,300 behind there is a big hole that we dug and pushed up, so it's reversing from the front, we came from the back. This is the drainage, the field drains this way and this way to go up to the Meridazine. So we dug out of here to aid that drainage and use that dirt to build.
Because those drainages do sediment up too, so a lot of the berms that we have constructed have came from that sediment that's been pulled. So
I guess.
Can we zoom out? Is there a bigger picture?
I don't know if it goes any further on that picture. You probably have to bring up like Google Maps, or like Google Earth.
So we plan on following the scope that our engineer provided with the berm height set based on a calculation based on the distance of the berm and the trajectory. He came up with those heights, so that way, based on the trajectory of the bullet, to stop that bullet, if it were to miss that target, it would be encapsulated by that berm. So generally, our berms are within that scope. We're always moving dirt around. So like you said, something about the weeds, like, I don't know where those weeds come from, but it's like they're prehistoric weeds in the soil and they just pop up. But
to me, that's a concern because then it gives the illusion that that berm is way taller than what it is.
Well, we leave those on there also to keep those berms from eroding as
Yeah,
well.
so I guess I won't feel comfortable unless I see like how you're actually, because I don't feel, when I read this report that you brought, I'm not saying that they're not right, and then I talk to who the state recommends, and when I read him what it said in the report, and his first line was, "That's not right." So that brings concern of when you're trying to build a range and make it safe. I mean, that's just ideal
And
if the round is always going to go and do that. And it's also only making it according to the round that he said, which I think might have been 7mm. And if you have other calibers being shot at it, then that could change that. And it just leaves up so much in the air of, well, how high are you going to do your target? Because it said it needed to be so high above a target. And so it just leaves it in the air. And then another thing that he said, because I asked him, and maybe I said this earlier, I don't remember, but I said, is 20 feet high enough? And he said, for 100 yards, he said, that is the bare minimum for 100 yard that they're building currently right now, like across the US. He said, now they are building 30 feet berms at 100-yard, ranges. And so I'm not saying you need to build 30 feet at 100 yards.
I think that has a lot to do with the trajectory of the bullet. So at 100 yards, if you shoot a bullet 20 feet above the target, above the berm, now that is a skyline shot. So because of our safety practices that we have where all numbers must have a confirmed zero, even currently our berm at 100 yards, if you're a whole revolution up on your scope, you're not going to get above that berm. I don't know that the state designs ranges beyond more than 200 yards.
Yeah.
So there's a difference in the design basis in that. I do know that he chose that 7 PRC bullet because it is the best of both worlds as far as velocity and the high ballistic coefficient. The ballistic coefficient means it is very slippery, flying through the air. The second a bullet leaves the barrel, it begins slowing down. It is, and the farther it goes, gravity's taking effect the whole way. So that's why those far berms where when you're shooting, the bullet is being slowed down and then it begins to come down harder and harder and harder. And so that's what a lot of that design basis is based on that from Mark Asmanic.
Are you willing to add a baffle system or like canopies to, keep the view of only?
So we're happy to do that along the bays where like the 100-yard and stuff. Those don't work with the practical style of shooting where you're shooting off of the different obstacles and stuff.
Because they're based on the height that you're starting from. So if you're all shooting from a bench, it's a set height, works great. If you lay down, it's negligible.
Now you're below the baffle height.
If you
So
stand up,
now you're looking at the
shooting in
baffle.
both.
And I hear that people don't like doing it, but what about shooting through tubes?
I think I've seen that like done in like Germany and stuff where that would be a single firing position that is based on the discipline of like the positional style shooting. That doesn't work out is for the tube stuff. So I've seen that where they're basically shooting through a culvert that's in a berm. I've never seen that in the United States.
I didn't believe they do have it in the
Do they?
United States because one
I don't
guy
know.
said there was some people that wanted to shoot 50 caliber next to a nuclear power plant, and the only way they would allow it is if they shot through tubes. So then they only see my main thing is you're only seeing the berm, and if
Right.
we don't have these berms built like the picture that was up there, because that is what I imagined, especially with the picture that you originally did in 2019. And, I mean, it just all boils down to the berms are not to where they are. I don't think a lot of these questions and concerns, like one of the things I thought about the neighbors and the noise and like how it's, you know, every time they hear a bullet, it's fear. Where, like at my house, my neighbor who shoots almost every morning, I have no fear because I know that their bullets aren't going to come to my house. You know, they're not going to hit me. So trying to quell that fear because they know that they will be properly contained after it leaves the gun is really it. And it just boils down to the berms are just not adequate.
That's
just getting that
and that's really
that
why.
reassurance, and that's why I guess I would like it in writing, so then, you know, because I would like to see a gun range continue, but I need to see it in writing, like, this is how big they're going to be, so then we know what to measure, because I will want, you know, we talked about yearly inspections, or if there's a flood, but when this is said and done, nobody should be shooting until it is marked off that they are the height, that you show that they were compacted properly, that, all that kind of stuff. Just because safety is huge, we all want it safe, we all want to still continue to shoot. And so that's
I don't
where-
think we have any argument on that point. So the engineer that we were requested and got says if you're shooting at a target that is X distance, this is the size of the berm.
Mhm.
We're happy to comply with that and have, I'm assuming it's Pat, come out and look and go, yes, you actually did what you said you're gonna do. I don't think we have a debate there.
Yeah, my only concern is I don't know if I feel that there is adequate unless you're gonna build a big berm that extends the length of it, if that makes sense.
Well, and so if you see, like, those are all kind of stacked behind each other. So like, if God forbid they miss one, it would go into the one behind it. So I mean, that's how a lot of.
Is markedly safe than what you have, more safe than what you have now? How?
Yes, as far as.
How's it more safe?
You've removed the issue that if you have somebody be stupid, you've added another mile in distance in buffer. So,
To an occupied dwelling?
right.
That's
Well,
the,
to the trail, to an occupied is further.
okay, pull up Google Maps. Yeah, on that
And I
other
just
page.
think, well, and
And then will you measure the distance basically from where the range is now, where they're proposing? It's basically that vertical line. Give them a little more distance. There you go. Into the M in Maris on the left side of the left,
other
Left.
Meridazine, there you go.
right there.
23.
So that's meters,
That's like 2,500 yards.
2,500 yards. What's that in miles?
Half a mile.
Just a touch over a mile. So right now, the houses are more than a mile. There you go.
Once you measure it, you can change the units.
There we go. .4. Will you zoom in on where it says done? So there are 12 to 20 occupied dwellings right there. Sheriff
Yeah, you
tells
gotta
me
click
that
on the
there's still
side to
people
get-
lives there. They're occupied. Some seasonal, some permanent, but how is, if the only difference is your backstop, because you've asserted that the berms make no difference, they're already adequate. How's this safer?
So if we need to readjust the angle of our fire for worst case scenario, we can do that. So we're not pointing towards that. We're happy to do that.
This is way worse. There's more dwellings and it's closer.
That's news. We haven't talked about that at all.
To the north of there's a house. Then you're pointing at the Buffalo Farm.
The Buffalo Farm?
Yeah.
You want a measurement on that or something?
Not really. I wouldn't even consider, I just don't know. So I didn't ask Mr. Cunningham or Randy, have you ever seen anybody shoot off of the bike trail since it's been opened? Okay. People, I will not disagree. People go on public roads and do stupid things with guns. They shoot signs, they're attracted to creeks and bridges for some reason, shoot things up all the time. But between where these holes appeared in these people's houses and your gun range, there is no road. There's no public accessible ground other than the bike trail. Have you ever seen anybody shoot off the bike trail? I mean, I know you can't see it, but.
I mean, all I know is that the trail is not patrolled.
I guess. You've made statements in the past, they weren't conditions, but about the number of members, the height of the berms, the size of the weapons, the guns that are going to be shot, the ammunition, caliber, just the general intensity of use and the expertise and experience of the members. All those statements, not conditions of your deal, but misleading, they don't match what we have today. That paired with the fact that I understand legally you don't want to say anything. I assume that's why you're not even considering that those holes, those bullet holes are related to you. But no reasonable person could tell me where they came from then. There's no public ground between you and them. I guess it's, besides those things that don't match what we have today, those assurances, comments, whatever, what reasonable person thinks they came from anywhere else? Or what reasonable explanation then would you offer?
I just think it's easy to blame it on the range because the range is.
I think
is
it is
there.
too, but I think it's difficult to find another explanation.
I mean, the biggest explanation to me was the trajectory. That's like a fingerprint.
Should we watch a video of tracer rounds ricocheting into an berm?
So I've witnessed that. Generally, those will impact into berm and they'll travel upwards generally. When they contact the ground, they lose a lot of their velocity. When they do that, they are no longer stabilized and they begin to tumble.
But when they tumble, you can hear them.
That's what you hear. When you hear a zing, that's what you hear, but that's also a bullet that's.
And when they tumble, they've lost a lot of velocity and they're they're subsonic?
If you hear a zing, they are still supersonic, but when you do no longer hear them, they are now subsonic. The subsonic threshold is 1,050 feet per second. So when it drops below a point and at distance, the farther you go, there's no energy. That was based on, that's why we chose firing to the left. So even if you were to skip around, and it's illustrated in the engineer report where even if they do skip one, it would, if it contacts the ground at less than a 12-degree angle, it would be prone to ricochet. At that point, it loses substantial velocity, and then it'll begin to tumble and then land much nearer distance from that point. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for.
Loses velocity for a round that can go 3 miles.
According to his calculations on a 7mm, 7mm PRC, which is ballistically superior to 50 cal, if it misses the target and misses the berm, it will skip twice, and I forget the yardage, but it still stays contained within the range. That's if it totally misses the berm.
I have a question for Mr. Winkler. Would Mr. Winkler come back up here? How long have you lived where you live?
I have lived at my house for right at 30 years.
Did you ever have a bullet hit any of your property before the gun range was there?
No, I did not.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I will say that just in my, because I met with Mr. Yoder at the range, met with the neighbors, just, saw everything. And it's hard when you look at how the range is, and you know where Mr. Winkler's house is, and when I've seen the buildings that were shot, it's very hard to not just, well, assume, which assuming is bad, that they came from the place. It's just hard, and that's one of those things that, you know, it is allegedly, unless we do like take those shells and then compare ballistics with each gun that shoots the 6.5, what'd they say, it was 6.5 PRC, one of them. My other thought is, I could see somebody carrying a handgun down the trail to shoot, but I don't know if somebody's gonna carry, you know, the kind of rifles you would need, but you never know. I just think, again, I just go back to the berms. That's the whole thing the whole time, is this the berms after reading it. And I feel as though it was God's providence that when I took over here, my predecessor had the minutes of the meeting from when they voted on it in 2019 in the drawer, and I read it all before this all came up, that I didn't even know that this was an issue. And being that I drive by nearly every day, I'm just like, they're not adequate. And so we need to make sure we keep it, that everything's adequate, and I would need it in writing.
I think maybe we need to try to come up with a direction here.
Well, and I agree with that, Rod, and I'm sorry if I cut you off, but I do think there are two distinctions here that I would like to hear three of you chime in on. And don't let me put words in your mouth, either of you. From what I am getting from you, Sabrina, is that there is a path forward, provided that the berms meet specifications that you are convinced actually conform to these generally accepted operation practices.
Yes, the generally accepted.
What I am hearing from you, Colt, is that in light of the fact that there are residences behind this reoriented range, that regardless of what those berms look like, you are not comfortable allowing this range to continue operation. Is that fair?
Yes, and also what Sabrina, I absolutely, any way possible, want to let folks do what they want to do, enjoy their form of enjoyment, whatever it is. I have in no way a philosophical opposition to guns or anything like that, quite the opposite. But I'm convinced this is not safe as it is. Pointing at the proposed direction is the same issue in a different direction. It points it towards other folks. It'd be the same mistake, different direction. If there can, if there is a path where safety is assured, I would be for that as well. But as it is currently, I mean, most eminently, I do not think that, I fully believe this is not safe, and worried about the welfare of the folks downrange.
I mean, I agree with that too. And when I talked to Mr. O'Neill on the phone, he said it's just a matter of time before someone gets hurt.
So, and I know this has been talked about, but I want to frame it. So there are basically three statutes that speak directly to this. Those three statutes mention generally accepted operation practices, I believe 8 times. So it's clear to me that the legislature was concerned about generally accepted operation practices. If I understand, Sabrina, in your effort to learn what those were, you contacted Kansas Wildlife and Parks, because literally the definition of generally accepted operation practice, statutes right here, says those safety practices adopted by the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. So you called them.
Yes.
You talked to an engineer there that specializes in this. He referenced you to Mr. O'Neill and said, this is the guy you need to talk to about generally accepted operation practices, correct?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill, in his admittedly cursory review of this, said, I don't know, Sabrina, like I can't tell you. He was reluctant to offer an opinion without a deep dive, but the point I'm trying to get to is if you all want to know what the state considers generally accepted operation practices, Mr. O'Neill would be the guy that you, based on your interaction, that we would want to bring in.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my thought. I mean,
Well, I am not making a recommendation, I am putting an option out there. You all, and it's gonna cost, I mean, my understanding about Mr. O'Neill is he's not in Kansas, that he's an expert, so we're gonna have to pay him. If you wanted to, you could have him do an analysis to see, is there any way that this location in any orientation can house a gun range, a shooting range that could conform to generally accepted operation practices. He could give you an expert opinion on this, he could give them an expert opinion on this, and then give us some steps to take in order to make sure of that. At that point, you would have an expert saying, yay or nay. That is an option. So,
and he
curious.
also said he was willing to talk with you guys and with other people, and he wasn't like, because he builds state-of-the-art ranges, he's not trying to put that, like, trying to work like, okay, what's the most affordable way to do things too, so
I think he needs to see it in person, because the fact that it's on the in the floodplain makes a whole lot of difference on what you can do. I mean, as far as.
You recommended hire that individual. We did hire that individual to give us a report that was required, and he gave us an approved design based with a berm design. So I mean, if you want to say that his PE is invalid, as well as the Colorado PE, but also the PE of the Kansas engineer that also signed and sealed that report and design.
I guess I would like to have him here as, you know, physically have that person here so they can answer our questions.
$10,000 for him to show up.
Yeah.
So I've already paid for him to give us a design engineer. So, and we have that for him.
Okay.
I mean, that's his design basis. That's his whole life, is designing ranges. That's what you're asking for. That's what we provided.
Okay. I just never saw where he did design ranges, but I guess I just need.
Well, you have to decide whether or not you're comfortable with his expert. Like I understand his position, but you're allowed
He's
to.
an industry. I didn't just call a guy saying.
No, I've read about him. Like I found.
He's an accredited forensic engineer. I mean, this is what that engineering company does. Colorado has a large shooting sport population.
Yeah.
And he based it on our rule setting and that the calibers that we shoot and the direction and all that. That was his design basis.
Don, Rod, Ian, haven't heard a lot from any of you three.
But we haven't even got to, I mean, I have questions about having somebody, I mean, and I know you don't want to have somebody on site, but I would like to have somebody there that's checking in that knows exactly who's shooting.
We can do that.
All of the time, but so tell me.
We would know that if we had an RFID gate, I'll know who comes in and out, what time they come in, what time they go out. I can lock the gates, the gate won't open unless it's an emergency or something. So you can't trip the gates for it to open at night. So we'd already.
Do you have electricity out there?
So we've paid for a transformer.
Okay.
If I had a thing, so I could, a membership, okay? If I had a membership, what do I have? Do I have a key card? Do I have a combo?
You have the combo.
When this was brought to our attention, we actually dug the trench. We were getting ready to put in the electrical to put in an automated gate. When we had some conversations with Pat, I said, hey, let's pump the brakes. Because it's approximately $80,000 to $100,000 to install that electric gate. We have to drop the transformer, run conduit, meter socket, build the gate, concrete, the whole deal. surround the gate with additional fencing to keep people from driving around the gate. So it's an $80,000 to $100,000 addition. I paused that so we could spend money in this situation that we've been spending
If I
money.
have a membership and I have 5 buddies at my house and I'm like, let's go shoot. And I go and use my card and I walk in with 6 people instead of 1, do you know that?
As our membership, you are responsible for your guests. So
So
any
you can take as
action
many
that
as you
those
want?
guests would do goes back on the member. And there was just recently where a member gave out a combination. It's the same as me handing my key code to somebody else. Those are trespassers. When I determined that they were I was like, who are you? So they were from outside the area. They conned the passcode out of a member and came to the range at night. We immediately trespassed the 2 individuals. So if they come back, they will be arrested on site. And B, that member that gave them the information has been terminated. So, which he's actually an Army sniper, the guy that gave the information out. So his buddy defrauded him, got access to the range, and now all 3 are trespassed. So we have a very strict policy as far as safety. We've told members they can't come back because, hey man, I'm not seeing safe actions from you. So we pause membership, say, hey, what you did was unsafe. He's like, I know it was unsafe. Okay, guess what? We're going to give you a timeout. You're going to go, not come to the range and think about it. And so
I guess
we're very.
appreciate you being frank and honest about that, and then your commitment to safety and what you're doing. But the effectiveness that you've said before of the berms that you have is really predicated on hitting them, being safe, being accurate, and you're saying they're adequate size because you hit them every time. You don't start at the farthest one. And your folks are so committed to being on target and hitting the berms, but that's your primary source of safety, right?
It's not the primary. Primary is safe handling of firearms. And we don't have a debate with the size of the berms that need to change and need to update. That has not been a debate that we've had. We're happy to do that and have Pat come and
But
sign
you've
off on
said
it.
several times that it's not necessary. We can build them 20 foot if you need, but we don't need this. We only need, and then you provided the numbers, right?
We would like to
Yours
follow
now
that.
are far less, and you said, but they're adequate because they meet design.
We would like to follow that engineer design or at a minimum.
Because you believe those are adequate. Because you're hitting them. But then you're saying, because we don't have unsafe practices, we don't have unsafe people. But you just said you sometimes have unsafe people. You get rid of them because you care, and that's the right thing to do. But they happen.
There are people all the way around though, as far as it is now. And if you turn it, there's people there, and if you turn it, there's people there, and if you turn it, there's people there. Almost exact same distance as it is right now to the people in the trail.
I think there's just an awful case, and probably on both sides, but of confirmation bias. Like, I have this paper that says it's safe. I want to do the right thing. I really enjoy this sport and have a passion for it. I want to keep doing it. I don't want to accept answers that go anywhere from that. And I'm sure if you live downrange, I'm sure every acorn that falls from a tree right now is a bullet, and you're sure of it. I think there's confirmation. It's human nature to have confirmation bias, but a reasonable person stepping back and looking that doesn't have a vested interest on either side would say, yeah, this isn't a safe situation.
Well, and I guess the other thing, whether we come up with and bringing in an expert, if we want to go to the NRA Range Source Guidebook, it says, and this is in Article 1, and I didn't put the whole thing, but it's 1.02.3, a determination that a range satisfies such reasonable expectations can only be made by a thorough professional evaluation of the range. So, no offense, Pat, I don't know if you're the professional on range. So like, if we come up with a plan and they build it, we still, no matter what, have to have a thorough professional evaluation of the range, which you would hate to have them build it, spend all this money, and then professional is like, well, either you needed to keep adding this. I mean, but anyways, no matter what, there's gonna need to be a professional evaluation, whether it's, we all go out with the gentleman that you have or somebody that we feel safe, or, you know, people want to communicate. I mean, that's kind of what will need to happen.
You did ask a question about whether we needed a range master if you were out there. And to me, the answer is yes. You need a person who is the responsible person every minute that the range is open, even if there's nobody there. You need to have somebody there who is going to be responsible. If there is an incident, so that law enforcement knows who to contact, who was in charge, who was in charge when that incident happened.
And we can't enact that.
Who knows who was on the range? We need to know every person that was on the range all the time.
I understand. So we've already had members say, hey, I'm already a range certified safety officer. I'm happy to do that. So like, it is harder to facilitate, but we can put that into action.
I mean, like in the summer, you're open 16 hours. That's 16 hours of having a range master on site. I mean, are you prepared to do that?
Stay with what the planning commission recommended.
Now,
Planning commission, that's another thing we'll have.
generally-
To discuss, is the planning commission recommended the hours of operation.
Yeah, and again, I'd like to address those because I think it's too many.
So, common practice is private ranges, the range member is the safety officers. If you go to Mill Creek has been around since the 1950s, 60s? I thought it was 20s, but it's been there.
And they
They have a slide gate access, which we were planning to put in, and the members are the range officers.
And they've got north of 2,000 members?
And they also have surrounding property owners and residences around them. So like, in anything you do, whether you're shooting a gun or you're skydiving, there's a safe procedure that you can be safe and do those activities.
So we would need to figure out on some of this what the generally accepted operation practices would be in situations for ranges like that. I mean, because theirs is a longer range, like what is the generally accepted for a membership gun range? What is the generally accepted?
It was briefly mentioned, but it bears being mentioned again. You talk about there's safe practices and even inherently unsafe things. There's a risk to everything we do. There's a risk to getting out of bed. There's a risk to driving down the road. Hell, if you're a driver and have 2 million safe miles, that's a monumental, that's a big deal. You're excellent at what you do because there's not only risk, but there's exposure. And because you have been so successful, the use is now far more intense than what you expected, what we expected. And
I don't think
when you're sending 11,000 bullets downrange in one day, the risk, although small, it's far more intense than what was proposed, expected, that we originally thought would happen.
And I don't know that, I think that was just a question that was asked where, how many members do you think you would have? I didn't mean that to be a cap, or that just shows how much a range of our use is really needed in our area. So
It does show interest, but I mean, you're also describing the animal that we're looking at. I mean, the proposed use, so it is relevant that way.
Is there any way that a person could go back and see if they could design this where if you're shooting a gun, it's not going in the direction of the house? Is that even worth trying to do?
So you get to, when you talk about a direction, you have to go to the engineer design and say, okay, this bullet can go this far based on the environmentals and trajectory and velocity and all that. So why not 5 miles? Why not 10 miles? Why not? So we're not shooting artillery. We're not shooting cannons. We're shooting rifles for the most part. And you know, the claims that a bullet can go 4,000 meters. So when we have a rifle match, most guys are shooting 6 mm. It's a higher velocity, but is a lower energy. Like, it's usually, nobody's gonna hunt with something like that. So they're like maybe a 100-grain bullet at 3,000 feet per second, which is pretty fast. So I've calculated the foot-pounds of energy at distance. It's less than 10 when you get over 2,000 yards or something. So like, it's literally like a rock falling out of the sky. So when you're looking at like, oh, it's 1.5 miles or 2 miles, whatever, but it's all like, if you were to shoot them in the sky, yes, they could go 2 miles. But at that point, it hits a terminal velocity, and it's just fluttering and falling out of the sky.
So the question of can you not aim at a house, the question is, can you not aim at a house at what distance?
At a reasonable distance.
At a reasonable,
Yes.
so when we started to lay this out, we said a mile. A mile was reasonable, so clearly.
I don't believe
that.
a mile's reasonable.
So we need to figure out what that is to put in some parameters and look at that.
So instead of going west, we can go north, west, or something along those lines, so we're not at that.
I think we're all.
Yes,
I
sir.
thought east towards the Osborne Bridge. Nobody's gonna build down there. And if you have it direct, other than it's gonna be directed, that might have been about the furthest out when I Google mapped it. But I don't know if Road and Bridge wants us shooting towards the east or just, well, I shouldn't be funny. So, but I mean, that was a long distance, but I mean, you can pivot, like wherever this is, where you're not going towards, tweak it.
So if we went
Other than, I don't know how far all those little cabiny houses are. I've never,
So instead of the end, we went towards the R on the end of river. I mean,
or in between, because there's that house that maybe is the Buffalo Farm.
I think there's some direction in there. I think it can be put in there without shooting at a house, okay?
I agree.
I mean, even the new design we have here, we're gonna shoot high-power rifles at this 500-yard range at a house. And I don't feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
And neither is these people sitting right here. We need to make them happy. We're trying to make you happy. Somehow we ought to all go get in the same direction, or we're not doing anybody any good.
I understand.
What's the difference between your club and the Mountain Creek Rifle Club?
So Mill Creek, they shoot out to 600 yards. That's just based on the size of their property.
Because I can join them for $135 a year, and you're
Have
what,
to go to
$700 a year?
You do. So there's a benefit to the distance we offer because it's not common. Like Tim said, the closest is past Salina or past Wichita or past Springfield, Missouri. So Mill Creek has 2,000 members. I joined them. You also have to go to an orientation. They put those on, it's either monthly or quarterly, to go through the same orientation that we're going through. And then it's $90 a year after that. Yes.
Yes, go to orientation. So they're excluded from that. What? Go ahead. I say as we move the conversation towards a solution and a way forward, I won't be for anything that continues to shoot due north towards the houses, even if there are 22s. I understand 22s can't get there. I don't disagree, but you're not able to place 100%, and I think that's inherently dangerous. That's what we're trying to get away from. You have several instances of folks doing what they're not supposed to. I won't be for any solution that has a range with the backstop that's due north of where you're at now in the same direction, basically.
Even if they built it up considerably.
Well,
Not toward the house.
you know, sitting here listening to the lot, I sat on the planning board 2 times. So, you know, I know how difficult it is to deal on their part and our part, and I think everybody's brought up a lot of, but the one thing I go back to, and it was your statement, feasible to happen. There's a law in Missouri, Blaine law, celebratory shooting. There's a little girl killed over there, and the shot was shot straight up in the air. I don't know how it hit her, how it killed her, but it did. So, I mean, there's feasibility of pretty broad things could happen. I mean, you know, if you use the theory you use, that it would slow down, be down, nothing.
And I'm willing to say,
You know, and I agree with Sabrina's part, and I'm glad she did a lot of work on that. And I know it's in her district, so, you know, I expect her to, you know, if it was over across the road, and there is one across the road from me, and they don't have a permit. So, you know, I've complained about it a lot of times, but they come and go. They're not a organization that thrives to do the right thing. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So, you know, I just hope we can come to something that's absolute. And I think it's just like the first planning board, the first time around, I don't think they thought it was a big deal, and I don't think they thought it was a huge deal, which now it's a huge deal. Before it was a monumental, but it wasn't for something to go in. But nothing had happened to nobody, and there hadn't been no issue. It was just the idea, what could. Well, now we kind of maybe see some things that could, you know, and it's been there for a while, and we've had some instances, which I know you guys have tried to avoid, but they still happen, and they may happen tomorrow, you know, because you get 700 people, and they got friends and neighbors, and, you know, probably, like you said, these people weren't even, they were tied to somebody, but they wasn't even a part of your organization. So, I mean, we just got to think everything over as best we can, you know.
2 weeks ago, I went on a bike ride on the trail, and I went to the new bridge because I wanted to see the new bridge, and I was by myself, and the thoughts ran through my head, and because I heard him shooting, and I thought, if I get shot, can I get to town before I bleed out? You know, I mean, that shouldn't go through my head. It shouldn't have to go through anybody's head. You know, it just riding on the trail.
I think we're in a unique circumstance where we were approved to operate, and now we're asked to make a lot of changes. So whatever you guys decide, I just wish that you guys could look at it from our viewpoint as well, where we are trying to offer a service. We've spent a lot of money building the way that we are. We are happy to, like we've had this, we worked with Pat to say, hey, we'll switch the direction of fire, you know, whatever we got to do, because I want to be able to keep a safe place for people to shoot, and help those people. Like the amount of people that call me that aren't members and they say, hey, I'm going on an elk hunt. Can I come out there and get data on my gun out to 600 yards? Because that's what you need when you go on an elk hunt. There's nowhere else to do it. So to be able to have that place and share those experiences, we are happy to do what makes sense, and to continue the operation of the range.
I'm concerned that you have so many people, because the word is getting around that they can shoot whatever they want, whenever they want. You know,
Generally, it's hunting calibers, really, for the most part. So the rifles that we use in competition are less than hunting. They actually shoot less recoil so that they can see where their bolts are going. So, I mean.
So, I know you're frustrated. It feels to you like we're moving the goalposts on you. We set them and then remove them. That's fair.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm sorry. That's not, I don't think that's accurate, though. I'm sure that's what it feels like from your side of the fence. We have a duty to the other landowners to ensure that they're safe and that they're not impacted, and we haven't degraded their way of life, their rural, the nature of them existing peacefully. The assurances and the plan, obviously you wouldn't have put forth the original one if you didn't think that it would work, and we wouldn't have approved it if we didn't think, but the reality is it is impacting them. Any reasonable person that is invested on any side would come to that conclusion. But I am, and maybe it doesn't seem, and I'm sure you're probably going to leave frustrated with me to some extent, but I want you to be able to continue to enjoy life the way you want, and have free will and you know, still be able to enjoy your passion. And I know it really doesn't seem like it, but even if you talk to these folks, they're reasonable. They have no I don't think a single one has any philosophical objection to guns. The noise, one of them even told me that I live next to a railroad. It's not the noise. That's fine, you know, I mean, I certainly don't want it at night when I'm trying to sleep, but they genuinely are scared for their safety.
And that's why we had that resolution to shift direction of fire to remove that. So, and we're happy to do
The
that.
same conditions exist going that way, unknown, unbeknownst to you.
I think you can find a direction and put it in there and not be safe within a mile and a half or so. I'm sorry too that, you know, it seems like we're changing, but we're not. The biggest thing, and I'll get back with you, huh?
No, go ahead.
Is just trying to make, like I say before, kind of get everybody kind of feeling better about the whole situation.
I understand. And my big fear is that the conditions could be potentially unattainable. So, I mean, that's a fear of mine too. Like, you can say, yeah, we're gonna let you operate, but you need a 100-foot tall berm, and then you need those every 50, you know what I'm saying? So,
There's reality to everything. Go ahead.
Well, I've got a few things, and this is to speak to both Colt and you, Rod. Like, I believe what I am saying are facts. I mean, incontrovertible facts. We've got a gun range shooting north. We have a house to the north that have found multiple bullets in their property. In between those two things is a public bike trail. Those are facts.
In a river.
And so the common sense rationale is that those bullets in that house are coming from the gun range that is just south, and they are flying over the bike path that has recently been opened. This notion of moving the goalposts, no, we are here because a public bike path has opened, and there are bicyclists going through now. That is a material change of facts. And you have learned today that you have houses that have bullets in them. So we're not doing a disservice to the range owners.
No,
We're doing our due diligence for public health and safety. Like, that's what this is. If there is a desire from three of you, and I think there is, but I want you to tell me this, if there is a desire from at least three of you to work on a solution with the applicants here, then one, we need to hear that, but then we need to chart a path forward. I will tell you, for our sake and for theirs, I mean, the statute, it talks over and over about generally accepted operations practices. My advice to you would be, we need someone to determine what those are. Someone that the five of you are comfortable with, not who, with all due respect, not who Pat Toth is comfortable with or who these guys may be comfortable with. You are the governing body that is going to make this decision. So you have to decide, like, who do you want to use? And it may be their engineer, that's fine, but to me, that needs to be established first. Like, what are those, and then who decides it? And then the last thing that we need to talk about, and this is where I am afraid this is gonna get hard, is what happens in the meantime. So let's say we all agree, like, yep, we wanna work together. Well, what is gonna happen in the meantime? And so I guess first, would you, a majority of you, like to work on a resolution with these gentlemen?
I think there can be something that can be hashed out. It's just, there needs to be way more discussion of what exactly that will be and details and.
Sure. And Rod, you've already said.
I think the berms is a big thing and head in the right direction.
Okay. And Don has kind of said that.
Yeah.
Colt, you're nodding your head.
Yes.
Okay, and Ian, are you?
Yeah, I'd like to have somebody that knows what they're doing, and yes.
Okay. Okay, so is there any way that the 7 of you effectively, okay, so we want to work something out. Next steps from here. You know, I want to have this discussion publicly. I know we're on 3 hours now, but what do we want to do? Like, what is the foundation? Who is going to set the foundation for what this looks like so that we can be ensured that it's safe? In other words, who is going to tell us what generally accepted?
I'd like to call Mr. O'Neill and find out how much it would cost to bring him in.
Okay. What are your thoughts on?
Well, I think we need to know exactly what their anticipations for, like, even though you guys don't want anything shot to the north, but what their anticipations were, like, this berm's gonna be this over here is gonna be this size. So then if we do get somebody, like another opinion, like Mr. O'Neill or whatever, and they can look at it and then give us, or whoever, you know, the idea, like, okay, that, yes, that's a good idea. Can they do this? Could you do that? I mean, I don't know if that's the right.
Would you?
Or like, are you talking like we need a study session to like figure out, I mean, like we can study session away, but if we don't have expertise
I guess.
to help us, it's like, wait, you know.
And that's my point. Who is gonna decide? I'm not competent to do that. Pat's not competent to do that. Who's gonna make the determination? Because like you guys said, the last thing that we wanna do is draw this out, have them spend money only to have the county say, well, we're not convinced that those are generally accepted practices. So how do we get there?
That's what we provided.
And that's what they, and I guess that's where the disagreement is.
Yeah.
They thought that this report, wherever it is.
I understand, and
It didn't work.
well, yeah, because the biggest thing is we're shooting at houses. And then we turn it and we're still shooting at these houses and now these houses. I guess we need to find out, and I don't know if you guys are interested, if maybe they could, look at it and see if we can get it narrowed up where we're not actually shooting at houses and then get it a amount, the height of the berm, sure you have, but make sure, is that gonna, work for you as far as the height of berms that's on this deal?
Not unless there's a big one behind it all. So, I mean,
Okay.
I just think that there needs to be somewhat of what I would call like enclosing. It's not like a full enclosure because that's enormous, but something like I said, you know, on this one, if it went clear across
Well,
and
they're
was
gonna
large
go in the
for
same-
this direction here,
More likely they're gonna go in the same direction, where they're gonna find a spot. If we,
but that's where an expert could tell us, yes, they need that or they don't need that. That's just me looking at a picture and saying,
is anything that we're talking about here feasible of doing?
I think we could find an angle that would be agreeable, that we could say, okay, this is outside of the realm that is out of limits, which I thought that's what we determined, but if we need to adjust that, we're happy to do that. That doesn't change anything to me, the angle, it doesn't matter to me. That's what we were trying to do with that solution. I think that's a very good solution, and we're happy to proceed that.
I think we can also say, since they're cutting fields fairly soon, we can actually get out on site and lay some of this out and laser it and say, hey, this berm is, I'm just gonna use an example, 200 yards. According to our engineer, it needs to be here, and get you a plan that makes sense for the ground that's there, because we couldn't do it. There's crops in the field.
How
and then
soon,
bring it back.
how soon can we get back together, you think?
The cutting fields.
He's beginning to harvest part of it now, so we can actually start laying stuff out, but,
But we need to know where to lay it out, I guess what I'm saying. That you get somebody to say, okay, we need to go over this way 100 feet, or this is the way we're headed. And then you can start laying it out.
Yeah, I mean, yes, because she's
we're
asking
looking at
for.
the houses, we're looking at the Miller Dam or
Absolutely.
whichever dam it is behind there.
As Tim said, I think there's an angle we can find, even between those, and then get you a set of plans that says, here's where berm 1 is, here's where berm 2 is, here's where berm 3 is. We can't do that now, but we can here in a few weeks.
Are you guys okay? And just taking everyone here at face value, it sounds like the engineer they're working with, I mean, again, I've not
He's
researched
already familiar with
but
it.
he is, and it sounds like he is credentialed in the field. He is an expert. Again, you don't have to, but are you comfortable with them continuing to work with him with the, again, I'm trying to herd 5 of you in one direction. That's
We're
not-
looking for a solution.
Yeah, but if there were more specifics on exact berm location, exact berm height, like, because it sounds like that's what you're looking for, Sabrina.
Because then we can get, you know, if we need another opinion or whatever, then we have that information.
I think it would be good.
And we have that information if we agree with it to hold them to it.
So what I am hearing is let them recess, let them work with their guy on what a reorientation looks like. Get more specifics, come back, then we look at it, we discuss. If you're not, I guess if you're not comfortable, you would still have the option of calling a.
And I don't want to be contrary or get in the way of a solution, but did the professional you're working with sign off on the current orientation?
We just proposed, we didn't even want to waste the
yet.
time and
Okay,
money
yeah.
to approve that. We just said, hey, we're going to turn it. This is what we want to do. And then that's what he gave us as his design basis on.
He didn't base it,
It would have cost me.
he didn't design this, and
It would have,
I know you don't want to hear this, but he didn't design what's not working.
it would have, basically, for him to review that, it would have been double the engineering for him to.
I understand why you didn't. I just.
Yeah.
We just said, hey, we want to move
I
forward.
can truthfully tell you, yes, if somebody comes back with an engineered plan, I believe
Yeah.
his judgment when he just approved something that's clearly not, in my opinion. I know you won't agree, not working, so.
So, Pat, I believe in the conversation before, I had bigger berms on some of them, longer ones than what was on some of this. So, anyway, as long as we can get to what he has spec to, get this in the right direction, I think we're sitting pretty good.
At what point, do we have to get the state involved, for the floodplain people? At what point do they have to be involved?
So the flood, pretty much any movement of over an acre of dirt, in this case, pretty much anything that they do within, and it's been rewritten recently in a general movement of dirt, which is use common sense. If you're going to adjust a floodplain, then we need to get the county or the state involved.
Before
In this
they do
case,
it?
we're probably going to move enough dirt, and it is a floodplain that is required to be there due to the fact that it slows flooding down to the city of Ottawa. It is one of our most needed flood areas that has to flood. We cannot block that because what we will do is funnel the water faster down the river, and then the bridge and the levee system, you're putting more stress on that. So in this case, we will work with the state with just basically, we'll take whatever plan of action we're looking at and we'll take it, we'll do floodplain permits. They're gonna have to basically get an engineer that says,
Well,
it's a no rise.
the thing is they've got dirt berms right now.
Yeah.
They're gonna remove them. They're gonna
Correct.
put them in a different place.
Correct.
So we're not changing a whole lot as far as.
Right, I agree.
Might slow
But if
down
we're
the
making the
System
big
regulation outside of this right here related to that, and
But we still, I mean,
take care of it.
generally, I think we were a little lax in the past on it. I will say that we don't know what this new plan is going to look like. Once we see it, we'll have to make a determination. But generally, I think it's just safe to get a floodplain permit because then we're covered as a county.
Do we need a motion?
And so I guess real quick, one other question, because you don't want anything, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, shooting north, what if, I mean, they would, like, if you don't want anything shooting north, do they need to kind of have a contingency plan in what they said they're gonna give us that maybe shows this is what it would look like if we're getting north to maybe appease you?
well, I just.
Or also everything going the other direction. And then my other question would be, would you still be okay with like the small thing that's facing north that would be enclosed? Just for them to know what
Nothing, we
to,
already told them, nothing shoots north. Nothing shoots, no, even a 22 rifle.
Okay,
Nothing
not
shoots toward
handguns
that.
or
That solves that. We don't have to talk about it anymore. I agree.
Because it's just too predicated on everybody knowing it, understanding it, following it.
Yeah, no,
Having
and I fully
any
understand
exceptions, and we've heard of a lot of exceptions.
And Rod, I know you're anxious, but we still got to touch on what happens in the meantime.
Yeah, it's the ugly elephant in the room.
Like what happens in the
We
meantime?
got that.
So
The
the
other
letter you
thing
sent
is
them
they should-
originally said cease operations, but obviously it didn't. So how did you get to that?
So once we made contact with them, we were trying to work together as planning and building and with the applicants. We had not had anything catastrophic at this point. We felt that we were making progress and that we would have this generally already behind us by now. In good faith with the applicants, we were just trying to work with them so that we could find a compromise with an end result that was what we're looking for.
Well, if we can come to an agreement on what happens in the meantime, I just want to practically tell you all what's going to happen from here. Like, I will go back and resume my normal job duties, which aren't heavily planning and zoning detailed. So Pat and Dee, is there any other information you need from the 5 county commissioners to have productive discussions with Mr. Yoder and Mr. Powell on, like, do you feel like you have a good handle on what they are generally looking for? Because I don't want to waste anyone's time. I am heartened by the fact that I think we can get something done, but I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want to have them bring something back that doesn't work. A lot of things have been said. Do you two feel like you have a pretty good handle on that?
Yes, sir. I feel like we already have a pretty good general idea of what we're doing. I would say even the plan of action got us halfway there as it is now. We have some details to hash out, berms, direction, and now Kiefer Dam. And then once we get a firm new plan as far as what the engineer, if you guys are going to accept their engineer as a plan of action to utilize, we can work with them as well. We'll work more individually as a planning department and their engineer to, instead of going through through them, I would like to have one-on-one with the actual engineer themselves, following your direction. I've been taking notes on exactly what the concerns are, and that way I can voice it to them, and then we can come up with a solution on that as far as what's been discussed in this room, if that makes sense.
So what the ugly elephant is the room is to continue shooting.
Yeah.
While we're not doing anything. I mean, like, well, this whole time they've been able to still shoot. So that's the neighbor's concern right there, is that it's still allowed.
This is not as much a recommendation as an option. It was noteworthy to me that 2 things, that when we first brought up them shutting down, Mr. Yoder, you brought up, well, I have competitions on the calendar. Ms. Alderman talked about not being as concerned about competition shooting as she is the everyday shooting, the night shooting. It would be a good faith compromise, arguably, to say, keep your competitions on the calendar, shut down all other range activities. I don't know if that would placate the 5 of you. I don't know that that would placate you two, but that is an option. That isn't a full range shutdown in the meantime. But if you want a full range shutdown, and that's just where we need feedback from you guys.
Well, my concern is the King of KC shoot that's coming up, because that's your long range. I don't know if you're gonna try to shoot over a mile like you have in the past. I mean, those are concerns I would have, and it's a competition, and then some of those ranges, or one of those ones, are ones that you should have shut down. So did you change that and they're not gonna go out?
So those positions we fired to that longest berm on the west, correct?
Which is
And-
not adequately built.
And it's over the engineer recommendation.
The engine, yeah, but
And then,
In our permit for 20-foot.
when was the last time you added dirt to it?
maybe spring of last year.
So it's at the 13, sorry, I'm just misoriented.
Yeah, you're right.
It's right there.
It's coming from this.
So it's still, it would be along the direction that we are planning to direct our fire to.
Do they mostly shoot prone when they're doing?
Yes,
long range?
all shots are done prone.
100%. No positional for that.
Would you have someone with your club on the trail at that time when somebody would walk or ride by with like a walkie-talkie to have you guys have them call a ceasefire if somebody's going on the trail? I mean, that still doesn't do anything for the neighbors behind it, but I just, would you feel comfortable standing behind those berms if somebody's shooting at them?
I would definitely stand behind the berms. I've actually been downrange because a lot of times you can't hear when you hit the steel. So I would actually go down range, go behind one of the other berms and have them shoot towards me. I've done that in the past. I've done that the last 2 years.
I'm not sure during a competition you're going to have any oops shooting.
Well, competition, they're gonna be more on point.
And that was the reason for my questions towards the start of the meeting, like, when you're having competitions, presumably you have people trying to win. You don't have knuckleheads.
No, no, absolutely not.
So I think that
And there's one person shooting at a time and everybody else is watching. Because we want to see what the wind conditions are doing. So the shooters are all laying through their scopes, they're all spotting, they're all giving information back to the shooters they can make. Even if they hit the target, they want to make a correction so they can hit the target more centered. So stuff like that. So it is, I mean, the same guys that are shooting that in November, and like, as far as the daily use, as the winter comes through, like, your busier times on the range are gonna be during summertime when it's only 80 degrees and, it's comfortable to shoot. So wintertime, very rarely you get a lot less shooters that are just general range members. For the most part, they're guys that are zeroing their deer rifles and stuff like that just for those deer seasons.
Well, hopefully we can get you back up and going by then. Does that work for you? Just keep your competitions and
If,
the range
could we,
other than that?
could we could we take all the targets down out to 600 or something? So then, like, say if I were to leave, where's your pointer at? At a minimum, so on our far right side, we have berms that go from, that's 600 yards out, up into that corner, they go up to 900. In conjunction with the berms, there is 500 yards of tree line. So even if and the tree line is behind those berms the whole way you go out. So even if you were to shoot one over the top, it's still caught by those tall tree lines.
Lowering some of the targets, because one of the targets looks like it's at the top of the berm. I don't know if it's at that first bunch of trees, like on that straight line, because there's like a first bunch of trees and then the second bunch of trees. But it's like at the top of the berm.
That's not a problem.
So, I mean, but I guess, I don't know, I like the idea of not shooting unless it's, I mean, I don't know where everybody else is.
How many people do you
Because
have?
that will light the fire to get it
Or
going.
if we were to
If
keep
you
the
can't
range
shoot,
open
you're
and
gonna get it going.
we put range officers out there to continue to make sure that the members are being safe?
I would be all right.
To me, shooting, all the issues, the really imminent, scary safety issues are due to a shooting north. I can't, in good faith, let that continue. I think it's a reasonable compromise if you want to do that northwest target for your competition, to be able to keep that. We haven't had any complaints or issues downrange from that. It's not
So in the meantime, you're
there's not
thinking
a lot of
nothing
dwellings
at
over
all.
there that are certainly not within range like the ones due north. Firing guns north on that range obviously hasn't worked.
So are you thinking nothing at all?
On the north, to the north, I think that northwest target, so they can keep their,
In the
that one competition, I don't know who's the other one, so utilize that target.
Which other competition?
Well,
So you had two.
they have, usually they're 22.
22 matches, and they're all shooting into a berm. The whole thing is they're shooting into a terrace, and those targets, they're shooting at very small steel, and they actually have their finale coming up as well. The targets are generally this high off the ground, and all of the shots are generally within 150 yards. There might be a couple that are further, but they all have berm behind them, and all the ones that are this high off the ground, there's a whole terrace across it. So like, all those rounds, that terrace is acting as a berm for those 22s.
Do I hear a motion
What are we,
as far as possibly doing competitions only, shooting off to the northwest?
So do we need to make like a separate motions for each thing, or?
I guess first, before you make a motion, what motion are you contemplating making or asking for, Rod?
I just wondered if, it sounds like we're wanting to possibly keep them just a competition and not shooting north, shooting off to the west.
Yeah, I think,
Can't shoot west yet.
No, well,
Northwest target.
northwest target.
okay, I think the first part of the language needs to be that you make a motion to table the discussion on special use permit application 1901-1646, pending further work with engineers and reorienting the angle of the range. I mean, that's motion number one, I think, if somebody wants to make that.
That we're just tabling the discussion.
That you're tabling the discussion of this application to give applicant and planning staff time to provide a revised design consistent with the sentiment that the five of you expressed here this morning.
And then we'll address the imminent issue.
Right after that motion, yeah.
Well, we're not going to keep discussing it, so I make a motion that we table this discussion. We don't have the only thing I don't like about that is we don't have a specific time to what we're tabling it to.
Yeah.
But we'll, when we're ready, well.
But the subsequent motion regarding operations should hopefully alleviate any safety concerns, thus making a hard timeline probably a little less critical.
All right, I make that motion.
Second it.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Metter?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson? Commissioner Sotomayor?
Yes.
Now, in light of the good faith safety concerns that were brought to your attention this morning, that were thoroughly discussed, I think another motion needs to be made regarding what the continued operations of the range look like. And I believe it warrants a motion just given legitimate safety concerns. So if the five of you feel like you know what you need that to look like, then if that's only competitions or only competition shooting northwest, I don't know what you landed on, but.
Don't know.
I'm conflicted because I know they've sat here and listened to the safety concerns and they are willing to make some modifications now so that to help alleviate this, so that, you know, to reduce how far people can, at this point, until they can open it longer. So I don't know. I'd almost say, you know, if they make some modifications now at the range, so that they can keep their business open until they can reopen it to the distance they want to. But I'm not making that as a motion, I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, my thoughts are, I assume there's a consensus, it's not safe right now. It's hard. I don't feel like they should still be shooting when we all feel like it's not safe, for as much as I love shooting. But if we don't have a stopping point for them, then we can just keep egging it on, or, you know, drawing it out more and more. It lights a fire under our rear to like get this done, especially for them, because they're not shooting and they have to tell all their members that they're not shooting. I'm a little conflicted with matches only, but I do feel that there needs to be a cessation in shooting at the range until it's done, just because I feel, and with talking to the gentleman I did, Mr. O'Neill, that the berms are not safe to even be shooting at. So a number of them, and especially, I mean, with the pictures I've seen, and I'm going by the very beginning. If you said they were gonna be 20 feet tall, they are not 20 feet tall. And so that's where I'm going from. That's why my concern is with the shoot. One of the things that Mr. O'Neill said, at 1,000 yards, if you have a 20-foot berm and where you're shooting from, if you're off just a degree, you're going over the 20-foot berm. So that's what he said. I've not done the physics and the math. I mean, depends on what you're shooting. But I don't feel comfortable. I guess I just would like a little more, like, what you guys feel on competitions or not. I mean, because I would like to give them something, but then again, I don't feel the berms are safe. And we need to light a fire, because
Comment
this has
was
been
made.
going on.
Comment was made that any individual who feels conditions are unsafe can shut the range down, right?
Well, and that's, I mean, and it
That we're all-
follows,
that everyone's
I mean, the
empowered to
state
make that call.
statute, it talks about, and you're not following, I guess, I would think, the original SUP. So in the meantime, instead of just totally denying and revoking it, we can just have a temporary, and I think that's what I want to stress, a temporary shutdown until we get it going. I know that's not what you guys want at all, but again, I guess whether or not it's all activities or competition, I guess I would like.
We're done.
Oh, no.
I think are we done for now, or do you want to allow more comment?
No, I think we're done.
All right, so obviously that wasn't a motion, mainly for the.
We're just going to go down and let everybody give their opinion, and then we'll see what kind of motion.
Okay, do you have an opinion before we make a motion on?
I mean, if they have that much expertise in the shooting and lower the targets down, I would think they should be all right on the competition, only.
Would you vote against the pause if that's the suspension? Don't want us to get deadlocked, I guess is.
Right.
So if you make a motion that it's all shut down and he wants competition, is that what you're kind of getting at?
Just so we don't get up deadlocked, yeah, we just talk it out completely, but having options.
Done.
Yeah, this is tough. I understand the competition part of it. You're not gonna have amateurs at competition, and you're a lot less issue with being rookie, I guess what I'm trying to say. The professional people, they're there because they know what they're doing. And so if we could make any concessions to lowering maybe the elevation a little bit on the target and for competition only, I guess I wouldn't have a big issue.
I've got two of you saying if targets get lowered, keep the competitions in play. There's still certainly would think a fire under Mr. Yoder and Mr. Powell and planning and zoning staff are available to get this done promptly as we can. I've I've got two of you there. Is there a third one that could be there?
I could be there.
What'd you say?
She said she could be there.
Vote against it, if that's the will, but there's gonna be a lot of details to work out if we're gonna make concession to allow competitions. Which direction, what, how, when, is it?
Well, it would probably be on their current range that they have, like, right now, is what the competition would have to be. So if you're not comfortable with the current, trajectory
It
that,
would require shooting large caliber
yes,
north,
they
which has
shoot.
been an issue. So, I can't consciously know there's been issues come out of it. Again, the sentiment is everyone's empowered to speak up and that safety is so paramount. Anyone can, if they go in unsafe condition, well, there's holes in the side of houses, so I'm speaking up. Would be towards just a pause there. Not an easy decision, it's not a fun one, but it's the right one.
I'm kind of in that same boat. And
I've got two of you saying that, no, we would like to pause this until we know it's safe and fair.
And my main reason, it might be a selfish one, because this affects everybody who loves to shoot guns. If something happens, it screws it up for all of us. And that and it's in my district, and all these people, like even Mr. Yoder, I know lives in the district, and it's like, I want to try to make this work. I'm even willing to make it work if they still kind of shoot north some, if we can get berms right. But, I just don't think how I feel that the berms are, and just with talking to what I feel is expert, just on their, obviously they haven't had laid eyes on it physically, but that's where I'm at.
What would a
So-
motion to that extent sound like?
So I guess whoever,
Well, it would just.
either one of you guys who want the thing, or one of us who wants it completely.
Motion to suspend or pause?
Motion to temporarily suspend the special use permit pending the engineering work that has been discussed here today. Pending further work with, experts on making the range safer.
Make a motion to that extent then.
I'll second.
Commissioner Metter?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
No.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Repeat the motion.
Shut it down.
It's just a motion
Pause.
to, go ahead, Janet.
We have a motion for a temporary suspension of the special use permit pending the planning commission, the planning department and the applicants working with the current engineer to find a solution.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Raymeyer, Chair Harris.
Yes. Good.
Any other?
No, that item's done, so,
Go to staff reports.
yeah, I don't have a staff report today.
Chair? Jeff?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
No?
I'm good.
Motion to adjourn.
So
Second.
moved.
All right.
All right.